ndimise ucango oluvulekileyo ngaphambili kwakho ekungayikubakho bani uyakulivala. Leli lizwe ndicinga ukuthi xa siza kuthandaza namhlanje sithandaze phezu kwalo that ebomini esiphila kubo kukho amacango ngamacango amaninzi, kodwa kukho ucango olunye elibekwe phambi komntu ngamnye ngexesha elinye. Now uThixo ekuzala ekubeka kweli hlabathi ukubeka akubekele ucango ozawuphumela kulo. Sicinga into xa siza kuthandaza masithandaze sisazi into okokuba wonke umntu angavumeli ukuvala kocango lakhe zimeko. Iimeko ezikhona mazingaluvali ucango lakho, maluvuleke ucango lakho ngoba uThixo elivulile. Masithandazeni sivaleni amehlo sijongeni phantsi. Xa othandekayo Thixo wethu mzali ngeli xesha somandla ekuseni nje Thixo wethu phantsi kwale ndawo yakwaSompondo Thixo olungileyo eAlice Thixo namandla kule community Thixo ingcwele yasemakhuzeni phantsi komsizwe sakwamqalo Thixo namandla nakumhlobo mbane Thixo namandla amakhulu wadala ngokuthi uwe somandla njengoThixo mnini wezo zonke wambeka Thixo ingcwele ukuze abe sisikhanyiso Thixo ingcwele ngexesha elinjena lokuxakeka Thixo namandla. Sicela ukuthi somandla phezulu kwakhe Thixo ingcwele beka isandla sakho Thixo olungileyo emagxeni akhe Thixo namandla mthambise ngeoli yakho. Somandla inyawo zakhe Thixo ingcwele ziphakamise ngokwakho nika umbono phezu kwamehlo akhe Thixo ingcwele. Somandla sicela ukuthi somandla ke saqhubekeka nobomi umbono wakhe ungaze uvaleke Thixo namandla ngoba ekudaleni kwakho Thixo ingcwele wathi somandla umbekela ucango Thixo namandla kungazibakho umuntu uza kulivala Thixo wethu. Baba ke Nkosi sikelela sile indaba yanamhlanje, sikelela somandla izithethi zikule ndawo, sikelela somandla abantu esibaxabise kakhulu Thixo namandla amakhulu otata umntungwa Thixo ingcwele, sikelela omntaka Qhoboshana Thixo namandla amadoda somandla akwazi ukwehla athobeke abe sezantsi Thixo namandla amakhulu msikelele ngencaka yeKristu Nkosi yethu, amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Matakela. Thank you very much for that nice prayer. Whilst we're still waiting for our program director, as the chairperson, I will be holding the phone. Mr. Matakela.
Sorry?
You are making a noise on your side.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, but you have to put yourself on mute, okay, so that we. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for that prayer, Mr. Matakela. Now we will go to our next speaker, and our next speaker, Mr. Mlibo Qhoboshane, who is the Deputy Speaker with Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature. Some of us know him in the agricultural sector when he was the MEC of the Provincial Department of Agriculture, and before he was the MEC of Ukokta. Mdungwa, we will hand it over to your leadership so that you start with your opening and the welcoming remarks. Thank you very much, leadership. Over to you.
Thank you. Manbulele kuwe mhlali ngaphambili nonke umbhexesho usatsha into okokuba useza ndigqithise ilizwi lombulelo ingakumbi kumfundisi uMatakela osivulele ngomthandazo intlanganiso na indaba ebaluleke ngolu hlobo. Bulise onke amafama akwazileyo ukuqhagamshelana nokokuba sibe kunye kule ntsasa sisazi nje into yoba kuxakekekile. Ndikhumbuzeka ke mhlali ngaphambili into yokokuba iintsuku ezili-16 zokungaxhatshazwa kwabantu abangoomama nabantwana, 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children, ziyaqalisa ngoku. Inkqubo ezilolu hlobo, inkqubo ezifana nezi, ukusebenzisana nokuphakama kwemibono yabantu, iqoqosheke uqinisekisa into yokokuba sisebenza kakuhle, zizakwenza amandla okuzama into yokokuba abantu benzakalisane bangaphathani kakuhle. Ndithi mandithathe ke lithuba egameni lendlu wezomthetho yeli phondo ndipulise kumphathiswa obekekileyo Honorable MEC uSisi Nonqubela Peter Sumafaku nendivile into okokuba uzawuba inxalenye yalo msebenzi ungaka. Egameni lamalungu onke nosomlomo wendlu-somthetho osihlalo be-committees kunye ne-legislature zonke into okokuba sibe nexesha nomzuzu wokokuba ke sihlangane sidibanise ubuchopho sisebenzise okuphantsi koqweqwe lenkangeleko ukwenzela uba abantu beliphondo ungabharha umkhitha walo besalithanda. Sithatha ngoba ke intlanganiso yendyebo le, intlanganiso yokuchuma, intlanganiso yokukhula nokukhulisana, intlanganiso yokubuyisa ubutyebi ezandleni babantu. Stakeholders will ensure that this successful event is taking place. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and also my special greeting and selective honor to say members of the Eastern Cape Poultry Farmers Association and the host leadership of Eastern Cape Poultry Farmers Association. Abantu abangunobangela nabeze kwakuhle kwanje ndifuna ukuthi ke kuni goeiemorgen, good morning wonke umuntu olapha. Okwesibini ndifuna nje ukuphawula into okokuba iphondo leMpuma Koloni lithe lachonga ngokusemthethweni nangokusesikweni i-Provincial Commissioner yamapolisa engumntu ongumama, umama Umene, and we want to extend our congratulations to her njengomama wesibini ozoba yi-Lieutenant General ezophatha imikhosi yokhuseleko kwiphondo leMpuma Koloni. And today, Chairperson, I've been given an opportunity to welcome and convey introductory words to all participants here on this live webinar, for which I'm seeing a number of people that I know who have been connected, which seeks to demonstrate how agriculture can provide job opportunities and wealth. Lento bendithetha ngayo ke kule nto yonqaba kwamathuba emisebenzi nobutyebi ndicinga uba le ntlanganiso okanye le indaba izawuza namaqhinga okwazi ukuwuqabelisa lo mcimbi. I'd want also to begin by defining the term agriculture. And according to Alan Chen, agriculture is not crop production, as popularly thought believes, but rather production of food from the world's land and waters. Agriculture is required for the existence of a city stock exchange, banks and universities. Agriculture is the bedrock of civilization and everything striving economy. Ulimo elenza kube kwibhanki, ulimo elenza kube kuqoqosho, kube kurhwebelana phakathi kwamazwe, kube abantu abalala betyiwe. But this definition strongly suggests that agricultural sector must be the backbone of our economy, for which I believe agriculture can still be the backbone of Eastern Cape economy as well. And that is the responsibility necessitated energetic poultry farmers who will ensure that the poultry industry in South Africa remains the largest segment, contributing over 20% of the gross domestic product. And according to South African Poultry Association, I'd like to start this webinar by sharing 3 points below with the webinar participants. Ndifuna nje ke sabelane ngezinto endithe ndakwazi ukuziphawula kule minyaka bendikhe ndabolekwa ukusebenzela sector. Contribution to agricultural sector and job creation. That is point number 1. We must all remember that whilst we may be able to avoid our responsibilities now, we will not be able to avoid accountability when the next generation asks us, as leaders, what we have done to achieve the country's economic liberation through agricultural sector. Ngapha sikwazile ukusebenzisa oluphuhliso soluphesha njengesixhobo sokuphucula nokuphumeza izinto ezifunwa ngabantu. As today's poultry farmers, ladies and gentlemen, the increasing number of socio-economic challenges confirms the demand of your participation in agricultural value chain. One thing that I want to highlight is that South Africa's unemployment rate is 3.4%. South African youth unemployment is 64.40%. 31% of South Africans rely on social assistance, and 55.5% of the population of South Africa lives in poverty. And this is seriously going to create instability in our own country. Bawuba abantwana abaninzi sele bediniwe bengakwazi ukufumana amathuba emisebenzi bengena skills ilizwe lizawuthanda ukuhlokova. Ndithanda into okokuba le ntlanganiso ithatha ixesha ngexesha ekufanele uba wonke umuntu uyakwazi ukubambisana siphathisane. In addressing these issues, our global icon and the first black democratically elected president of our country, Dr. Nelson Mandela, once said, and I quote, "Overcoming poverty is not the task of charity. It is an act of justice. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is a man-made. It can be overcome and eradicated by actions of human beings. Sometimes it falls on generations to be great, and you can be that great generation. Let your greatness blossom. These are the words that were uttered by former President Nelson Mandela, close quote. Ndinethemba chairperson into okokuba singabantu bephondo sakubambana ngezandla othi osakhulayo ancediswe ngasebe sazi eliphondo lethu alizukwazi into okokuba libe inhlahlela nje yokunyathelwa ngenyawo, but we will give saltiness so that everybody can feel the taste that this sector is coming together. I'm convinced, Chair, that if we as government, we can generate sufficient funding for our poultry farmers and provide them with necessary skills to ensure that they fully participate in agricultural value chain, they will be able to create much needed jobs. And I think my honorable MEC will be in a position to discuss this matter, develop formulas and mechanisms of how best we can support, especially emerging black farmers and communal poultry farmers, so that umzi nomzi sazi into okokuba noke inkukhu namaqanda nokufukamisela zizinto endicinga uba zi-residue of skills that we grew up knowing. Ayinoba ngathi into ke elilishwa nengumhambeli xa amafama enkukhu ebesikhula sizazi uba namaxhegwazana ethu ayisazi uba wenziwa njani lo msebenzi. The second thing that I want to share with this platform, the biggest obstacle to wealth is fear. Chairperson of this meeting, the problem with us as Black Africans, siba novalo, and ndicinga uba le indaba must start today to say uvalo dololo. We need to have very serious stamina, create a lever of solid men and women. Abantu abazouthi we are going to be groundbreakers. People are afraid to think big. People are afraid to think big, but if you think small, you'll only achieve small things. Ucho notu have eka. So le indaba namhlanje must start to say, if we want to negotiate support, loans, grants, and everything else with either government or private sector, let's have a team of dedicated men and women to discuss solidly without fear of contradicting ourselves, that the time has come for us to meet and engage with all those that have been given opportunity to give support. And farmers, now is the time to stop living in fear. If you fail in business, at least you tried, but never give up. Bakhona abantu endikhe ndabahambela ndababona bezama ukwakha i-structures ezinye zenziwe ngemali ezinkulu, but only because of the quality of work of our own service providers. Kubonakale iinkukhu zabo zisifa, whilst there is money invested either by government to ensure that they are given support. And these are the three things that we need to monitor to give support as a group of farmers in the poultry sector, from primary to secondary to tertiary, to ensure you acquire valuable financial assets that will allow you to finance your poultry business. And funeka siyenze loo nto ngaphandle kofana. Towards conclusion, Chairperson, this is the time to think big about creating wealth in the agricultural sector. And farmers should learn to use that to finance their businesses rather than avoiding it. Uzawufuneka sikwazi ukufundisana nge-financial models. And farmers who are not part of the value chain receive poor prices for their produce, whereas their presence ensures them bargaining leverage, information about market for their produce, which is a real value. And I think when we are speaking about agricultural economists, Chairperson, those are the people that are supposed to be part of these platforms, so that when we are speaking about issues of cost, running business, overheads, and so on, the predictability of our prices, including information about markets of what we call real value, and more consistent and predictable income. Ingaba senza malini ngezi zinto sizenzayo, zeziphi esikwaziyo uzigcina, zeziphi esikwaziyo uzi-investa, and so on and so forth. The third area that I wanted to suggest is Cooperative Indaba as a motivation to poultry farmers. Mayingabi zonhlanganiso nje ezi zokokuba sishere inhlubu zodwa. But there are people who have been successful in this sector who can come and share their own experiences. If there are problems, let's develop mechanisms of how we resolve our own internal problems, because we want to see a brand of Eastern Cape eggs being exported. Inyama, abattoirs, and even retail shops that are buying from our local farmers. I would like to remind you today, ladies and gentlemen, members of this meeting, my honored guest, whilst attending this Cooperative Indaba, that no matter who you are or where you're coming from, you can still make a significant contribution in the development of poultry sector. In his best-selling book, Reposition Yourself, Living Life Without Limitations, renowned author, pastime businessman Is the Dgg states, and I quote, "If you realize it's time and you are more than ready for a major life transformation, your recovery has begun, or your recovery has begun. Your urge to change will only strengthen your resolve to position yourself as a person you were born to be." We look at the factors that encourage people to move to cities in this session. Furthermore, the financial constraints that young farmers face, lack of loans, low profitability, capacity constraints, and so on, should be investigated. Zizinto ekuzofuneka sibe ne-capacity chair to develop even other faculties within our structure to say if this person has started to produce inkukhu ezi-100 to 200 to 500,000, but zindoni ezenza into yokokuba kubekho i-lack of finance and support and loans, why there is low profitability, what are the limitations of capacity and what are the constraints, so that when we come to Indaba like this, sibe ne-expression of valid evidence yokokuba i-problem esendaweni ethile kwi-region ethile yenziwa into ethile, and this is how we can resolve that particular matter, working together as a team. And I believe if we have shared experiences, we can overcome our challenges, because we will hear stories of successful poultry farmer stories, available agricultural funding opportunities from relevant key stakeholders, and some also offer technical and advisory support to our farmers. The webinar will provide us with an opportunity to ensure that Eastern Cape poultry sector is alive during the COVID-19. I started my own program of poultry during COVID-19. Ndithengiselwa ngumqanduseli womntu omnyama uSimthembile Khozani amantshontsho. And today I'm proud to say I'm able to produce my own eggs for my children. I share those with other people, and at times I sell them to keep my livelihood much more better. But I'm also lacking on the technical know-how. Sizigcine zikweyiphi level inkukhu, inkunzi zinjani, zizinto nami endifuna uzoziphulaphula apha namhlanje. Into yokokuba ndenzakaliselwe amathokazi enkukhu bubuninzi benkunzi. So I want here to learn from those things. Eastern Cape Poultry Farmers Cooperative Indaba, ladies and gentlemen, have been charged with developing plans to ensure that farming is the route to employment growth and wealth generation. Uba singathi xa siphuma kule ntlanganiso sibe nesibhambathiso ezithi Premier, Cabinet, Parliament elphondo, nationally, we are reshaping Eastern Cape to become a route to employment, a route towards growth, and a route towards wealth generation. When our poultry farmers have a reliable agricultural fund, which is something that we need to talk about in this webinar, which will boost their economic prospects and produce outputs rather than relying on government assistance, jobs and wealth can be created. Who else can do this work in partnership with us? When our farmers receive the education and training, which is a key strategic element of this Indaba for me, they need to create a bankable business plan and the skills to attract investors. The moment we're saying from OR Tambo, these group of farmers, these are the numbers of our stock, this is what we can able to produce together as Chrisani, then working together, we can attract the skills that are there from those that are from universities, TVETs, and so on. And then the investors will be also engaged and be attracted by such kind of wealth of knowledge. Agricultural funding will, without doubt, ladies and gentlemen, enable farmers to achieve market access and integrate into high-profit agro-processing value chains. Towards the end and conclusion, Chair, this is the time, my honorable MEC and the leadership that is present here, to deal firmly with the ineptness of casual authorities, because we can all see that the simmering dissatisfaction over the high unemployment rate is ready to boil over. ngobani onobangela bokuxinga kwabantu abantsundu kwindlela ebheka kuqoqosho ekuncediseni kwabo, zintoni esinozenza to remove the bottleneck so that we can be a happy province that is productive. And I think the roguish tendencies of individuals in charge of our farmers' development undercut the excellent work that has already been done, resulting in significant resource losses and retaliation from our farmers. Funeka xa sithetha ngezimali, sithetha ngoluncediso, sazi into yoba lufikelela kwabo bantu bazokwazi ul-embrace and appreciate the work that we are doing. With those words, Chairperson of the session, members that have joined this webinar, I was simply opening and welcoming you in this vital session. KwaXhosa ke kuthiwa khululani ibhatyi namkelekile kulo msitho. Fike ngokixesha lokokuba ndigqithise loo mazwi on behalf of the Eastern Cape Poultry Farmers Cooperative Indaba, on behalf of the people of this province, on behalf yendlu somthetho, ndigqithise ilizwi elithi yanga ninganyathela ke kwiintente zabangaphambili, nikhule nikhuthazeke ukwenzela uba iphondo lethu litshotshe entla ekuziseni izicwangciso nokumilisela kwazo, kuba it won't be of assistance to be greater in the brain trust of policy development, but we become much more thinner when it comes to implementation. Ixesha esikulo ngokuna lelokuba sicebisane, sibambane ngezandla, siphakamisane, sihloniphane, singabambani ngofelele ntamo, kanti ubutyebi busahlele ecaleni kwendlu. Abo bebexhamla ngaphambili basaxhamla ngakumbi, kodwa abo basweleyo basasonga izandla emangweni. Ndizama ukuthi yangamanyanga kokwethu angasinceda asinike ubuchule nobungcwethi bokwazi into okokuba lo msebenzi sikuwo ufuna abantu abamnyama, ufuna bonke abantu, ufuna lonke uluntu, ufuna oomasipala bethu, ufuna oorhulumente bethu, ufuna ii-arhente zoburhulumente, ufuna iibhanki, ufuna ii-loan finances, ukwenzela into yokuba ngenye imini in the next coming 10 years we have our own biggest factory, that is a cooperative factory of Black Eastern Cape poultry farmers. Namkelekile kamawethu nisebenze kakuhle, sinethemba loba iziphumo zale nhlangano zawukwazi uba ziyosherishwa nakwindlu somthetho, so that i-portfolio committee ejongene no-rural development and agrarian reform okanye u-agriculture ike iyongena nakwindlu somthetho siyi-adopte, so that we monitor how budgets are following functions. Welcome everybody and thank you for the opportunity and God bless.
Thank you very much, Mtunga. Siyabulela kakhulu with those wise words. That is why I always invite you in this kind of a program, because you will always be giving us an insight, background information, sharing your experiences since you have been in the sector. And I'm proud to say that now you are a poultry farmer, as I'm actually following you on Facebook, which actually makes me proud. Now, we were not only inviting you as a deputy speaker or as a former MEC of Dr. Dgg, we were inviting you as a farmer. And now you have touched on those key issues that are always seem as a challenge to us as farmers. And you are also giving us hope as to what we can actually achieve in the sector. Thank you very much with those wise words. And definitely with the final report or documentation that will actually come up, or that will be compiled out of the outcomes and the resolutions that will be made on this Cooperative Indaba Legislature. As you have actually suggested that there is a portfolio committee that is responsible for the agriculture within the provincial legislature. We will actually come together with our partner, that is a Small Enterprise Development Agency, USIDA, who have actually made it possible for us to be on this platform today. They are the key sponsors of this program, together with the other partners that we have. You will notice that we are live on Facebook, we are live on OurNews, online, we are also live on YouTube. There are links that we've actually, for those that will be willing to actually obtain these recordings. But currently we are live. Thank you very much, Mtunga, for such wise words. We go now to our speaker, which is Mr. Sphiwe Soga. Mr. Sphiwe Soga, he is the provincial manager of the Small Enterprise Development Agency. Eastern Cape Farmers Poultry Association, we have a memorandum of understanding which actually made it possible today for us to have this cooperative Indaba. And I assure you, Mgungwa, together with the other attendees that have actually joined us today, that this is the beginning of the good things to see in the Eastern Cape. And it is the first time for a small sort of a poultry commodity association to try and partner with a bigger organization that have got an experience such as OSIDA. Now we will welcome Mr. Sphiwe Soga, who is the provincial manager from OSIDA, who made it possible today, together with his colleagues within his agency. They made it possible for us today to have this cooperative Indaba. We will welcome Mr. Soga, Utati platform, and also share and tell us what is the purpose, why are we here, what is the main vision behind this cooperative Indaba, the main vision. Hello.
Oh, it's a promotion at the side. I just want to formally apologize. There is another meeting that I'll be opening immediately, which is including European Union. So if I'm excused, I will rejoin again. And the speech that I've delivered, if possible, can be loaded in your chat box. I will ask my office to share it so that the participants in this meeting can also receive it before the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mtungwa. I understand that you also have a very busy schedule. Thank you very much, leadership. You are excused in this meeting. We will share all the resolution and other documentation that might be of great importance to you. Thank you very much, leadership. Have a great meeting with the European Union. Mr. Soga,
kumnandi ke ukunikwa intambo emva kwesithethi esinjengomntungwa esinjengotata uQhoboshiana because seyenzile umkhombandlela. Mandiqale ke kwezokuqala, ndinguSphiwe Soga, ithole leduna likaJwarha uMtiko uJotela uMazaleni ukhonwani udolo limdaka ngenxa yokuthandaza. Good morning. I have been assigned to share with you in this gathering the purpose of why we are here this morning. In a country battered by a number of socio-economic challenges like unemployment, poverty, enduring COVID-19 pandemic, load shedding and economic decline, investment in agriculture and farming in general, particularly poultry in this case, is very, very vital. The purpose of the webinar is to put our heads together as the different stakeholders in the ecosystem to address the challenges of the farming community, zooming into poultry farmers, particularly your emerging poultry farmers. The Eastern Cape Farmers Poultry Association has taken a strategic decision to unite the Eastern Cape poultry farmers and the community in the farming sector in terms of poultry, in order to leverage on a number of opportunities. To mention just a few: bulk buying, access to markets, access to funding, quality and standards, economies of scale and mass market in terms of penetration, and training and development of the emerging farmers in terms of this sector. At the helm of their strategy is to organize the farmers into groups of primary cooperatives, as well as joining them into secondary cooperatives for coordination, access to markets and access to funding, among other things, as well as later, I think in the journey, establishment of an umbrella tertiary cooperatives for lobbying in this sector. CEDA and the Eastern Cape Farmers Poultry Association have joined forces by way of a memorandum of understanding, as it has already been mentioned by the program director, to make some of these things really happen. This will be done in conjunction with other stakeholders in the ecosystem. And just to take this opportunity, Kandiyo Hlalapansi, program director, and share some of the salient challenges of the emerging farmers in the poultry sector and generally your emerging farmers. Things like your access to markets are very, very critical. Things like making sure that the margins are actually effective and are bigger to be able to be sustainable. Record keeping is one of the challenges that you will find is salient, and financial management, as well as doing costing and all of those issues. Poor productivity as well, which usually sometimes is caused by a number of things like your diseases, your mortality rate, your fluctuation temperatures as well, and a number of other issues. Your high costs as well in terms of administration and transportation becomes an issue in terms of this, and irregular supply with regards to cost and electricity. One of the things endicela into yoba zikhe zihoywe kule ngqungquthela is the engagement and the entering of youth into the agriculture, because if you look in terms of our history as Black people, there is a greater sort of challenge in terms of pulling a lot of your young people into the sector so that they can actually be the future of the sector. Ngalo mazwi Camagu, ndiyabulela kakhulu. Enkosi mphathi nkqubo. Ingaba ndim ndedwa ongamviyo umphathi nkqubo?
Akavakali, Mr.
Akavakali Jack. Akavakali.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soga.
We can't hear. Excuse me, we can't hear.
Hello.
Sibethwa si-connection kweli cala. Thank you very much.
We can't hear still, sir. Yeah.
Xolweni bethuna ndiyadlaba mhlawumbi khona osebenza naye onothi mhlawumbi athabathe usuka apha asinike umkhombandlela kwenzela into yoba singalindisi no-MEC kule nantsika kule nkqubo sikuyo. Mhlawumbi uba ukhona omnye onokumthinta noba kusefowunini amcele nje into yoba sibe siqhubeka okwangoku esazama inethiwekhi.
Maybe the co-program director must take lead to call the next speaker.
Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Apologies for that. I was muted, so I was trying to unmute myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just sharing my presentation with you. Okay, there you go. Okay, I am trying to share, but it doesn't seem to be coming up. I'm trying to share. Can I send the email, my presentation, to someone else so that you can flight it from that side? It's not showing from my side. Have you given me the rights to share? Because sometimes you might find you have not given me the rights to share. Maybe I'm just a participant, so you must make me a co-host. Then I'll be able to share.
Actually, it did pop up, but you were quick to take it off again.
No, it's supposed to be showing at the moment because I've done that now. I'm gonna close it again, and then I'm gonna share. Okay.
It's showing.
It's showing now. Thank you very much.
But can you put it on slideshow, please?
Yes, I'm trying to put it on slideshow. There's something that you did that made me lose that part. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. My name is Kwati Goka. I'm manager in the Enterprise Development Division of SEDA. My focus is on cooperatives and collectively owned enterprises. I'm based in Pretoria. The title for my topic today is, for my presentation today, is talking about the cooperative sector, overview, and the challenges that we're currently facing. All right, I am going to give you the global perspective of what's happening in this sector. Cooperatives are a highly successful business model in the global business environment. Here are some of the international statistics. US dollar 20 trillion in cooperative assets generate US dollar 2.5 trillion in annual revenue. 2.6 million cooperatives have over 1 billion membership and clients. Combined, the global cooperative economy is larger than France's economy and places right behind Germany's economy as the 5th largest economic unit if it were a united country. So the International Cooperative Alliance defines a cooperative as an autonomous association of people who meet together voluntarily to address their economic, social, and cultural needs and aspiration in a democratically controlled enterprise, which means that it's a one member, one vote kind of enterprise. If you look at the global perspective, in Canada, 4 out of 10 people are members of a co-op. In the US, one out of 4 people are cooperative members. In the UK, 9.8 million people are members of a cooperative. In Germany, 1 of 4 people are members of cooperative. In China, 180 million people are members of a co-op. In India, 239 million. Singapore, 1 of 2 people are members of cooperative. Malaysia, 6.7 million people are members. In Kenya, 1 in 5 people, which is here in Africa. And we can take examples from that. In Brazil, 7.6 million people. In Argentina, 9.3 million. Over 1 billion people are members of cooperatives around the world. So you can see that in Singapore, they have the highest incidence of cooperative members, where half of the population are cooperative members. And the concept of cooperative was introduced in 1924. And an apex body was formed in 1980. I think from what I have just presented, we can see the possibility of us being able to achieve what is happening all over the globe. Our national perspective, you can see, here I'm showing you the total registrations from 2003 up until 2016-17, new registrations and deregistration cumulative. So you can see that the majority of cooperatives here do not have funding. It was much easier when the CIS was still in place. In 2019, the scheme was closed. So most people came in to register cooperatives and were able to access the funding. But when you look at what is happening at the moment, we have the registrations, the numbers are going up, but the sustainability of cooperatives is still a little bit questionable. And we would like to know how can we assist as an organization, as CEDA, how do we assist our cooperatives to be sustainable? Cooperatives are guided by certain documents. There's the Cooperative Policy of 2004, there's a Cooperative Act of 2005, and there's a Cooperative Amended Act 6 of 2013. This Amended Act is very important for the cooperatives to acquaint themselves with the new developments within cooperatives, because you might find that you are still thinking that you are a co-op only to find that you're not complying. So I would like cooperatives to acquaint themselves with that. Then we have the Integrated Strategy on Cooperative 2012 to 2022. Then Cooperative Regulations these regulations are very, very important. For you to say that I am operating as a cooperative, you need to be complying to these regulations. So as SEDA, we are now putting a criterion that we will be utilizing in order to be able to assist the cooperative following the cooperative regulations. Then we have the public-private partnership documents that we work with read. There are other documents, the NDP, there are other documents that we look at. So within SEDA internally, we look at our strategy and we look at the APP in order for us to be able to deliver the work. Cooperatives are better because they give individual participation through ownership, which makes them inherently more engaging, more productive, useful, and relevant to its members. Cooperatives are better because their business model creates greater economic, social, and environmental sustainability. Cooperatives are better because the business model puts people in the heart of economic decision. Cooperative identity, which is defined by the core values and principle of cooperation. Access to secure, reliable capital is important while guaranteeing the control of the cooperative. Cooperatives in all countries sit within legal frameworks that play a critical role in terms of ensuring the viability and existence of cooperative, and access to secure, reliable capital is very important whilst guaranteeing the member control. There are several cooperative principles that cooperatives are supposed to adhere to. Voluntary and open membership, you know, it's open, but it is guided by the Constitution. So your Constitution will be able to guide if the membership will be open to all community members, or the membership will be guided up to a level where you cannot add any other person. Democratically controlled, we know that. That is, cooperatives are democratic. Economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training and information, and also consent for community. Wherever you are based doing the poultry that you are currently doing, you know that you have responsibility to be able to assist your communities and to be able to submit a social report at the end of the day to CIPC to show how you have contributed to your communities. There are several key constraints and impediments. I'm not gonna mention all of them. These contribute to high attrition rate of cooperatives. Many registered cooperatives are between 1 and 10 years. They lack management and technical skill. They lack general understanding of cooperative principles and values. No secondary cooperatives to provide support services to the primary cooperative, because the secondary cooperative is the second tier that can assist the development of primary cooperatives. In some of the cases, you find that there is a secondary co-op, but there are no functional primary cooperatives. Another constraint is that most cooperatives do not really operate in a manner that upholds the principles of cooperatives and self-help. Principles of economies of scale and scope are not utilized. Limited liability of startup and expansion capital to cover the value chain, it's not there. Limited access to markets and limited information on business opportunities. Limited availability of non-financial support. Conflict amongst cooperatives, it's one of the major issues. Limited availability of mentorship support services, and limited coordination amongst and between the three spheres of government. I will be talking to some of these facts as I carry on. We do have an integrated cooperative development model that seeks to grow and develop cooperatives in order to achieve the following objective. We want to implement the NDP objectives, where we contribute to reducing poverty to 0%, contribute to the creation of 90% of 11 million jobs, which means 9.9 million jobs by 2030. mobilize communities to participate in the development state and bring about sustainable community development, mobilize communities to participate in their own development. That is quite important, especially for our cooperatives, to reduce dependency of poor families on government social grants and free services. So if we have our cooperatives, we know that we will be addressing this issue. To enable communities to pay for services, thereby broadening the revenue base of municipality, rendering municipalities financially viable. To develop cooperatives by leveraging on public procurement and infrastructure spend. We know the challenges that we have as a country. We also want to leverage on the IDP budget allocation to municipality in order for us to assist the development of cooperatives and budget from provincial government. We're looking at the development of value chain based, adequate funding and non-financial support services. Remember, all these as CEDA, we do in partnership with other organizations. As CEDA, we do not just work alone. National branding, promotion of cooperative products and services, and provide backup support services. So we need to come up with a branding at the end of the day as a country to say cooperatives are branded like this. And we all know that, oh, well, once you see this branding, we know that it is a cooperative. So we aim also to promote transversal agreement, stitching a partnership and cooperation between DSBD and other line departments, e.g. social development, public works, agriculture, and so forth. Once we have that working, as CEDA, we come in, then we can sign an SLA with a particular department in order to assist the cooperative, to implement the survival rate of cooperatives and enhance their image as dynamic form of enterprises to achieve economic development. We believe that cooperatives are set out there to be able to assist us, and also provision of monitoring and evaluation of impact support services. As we develop, we want to improve coordination and integration of cooperative support mechanism within the government and support institution, as I've already mentioned about the transversal agreement, the 3 spheres of government that's supposed to be working together, encourage public and private sector partnership, which is one of the key elements that the unit that I'm working in promotes, action across the entire business cycle, focus on special target group, regions and priority sectors, focus on youth and women, focus on rural and township areas, focus on critical sectors, agriculture, aquaculture, agro-processing, bakery, construction, ICT, CFIs, cooperative financial institution, textile sector, renewable energy, auxiliary sectors. Auxiliary sectors represent all the sectors that I have not mentioned above. So poultry, you are included. One of the things that we are doing in order to assist our cooperative, we assist with pre-formation of cooperatives. We would like people who aspire to having or registering cooperatives to come through to our CEDA offices so that we can inform them, educate them about cooperatives, and also educate them about the difference between a cooperative and a company, so that you can be able to understand how you should go about that. We go through formation with you, and then we also assist you with business opportunities, looking at issues of the business plan and other non-financial support services that we are offering. Then as you grow, we look at growth and expansion. In case you are unable to function quite well, we look at business rescue as we develop strategies to assist you with turnaround strategies to be aligned and to function quite well, to make sure that you comply with the governance principles. So we will be using this integrated approach, which involves ensuring that adequate and relevant support programs, products and institutional mechanism exist that provide support across the entire cooperative life cycle, from pre-formation up to where you are really competitive and where you are able to function without getting any support. One of the most important things which drives the development of cooperatives is that we have the integrated cooperative strategy, which government says we need to focus on these strategic pillars. We need to increase financial support to cover the value chain of cooperatives. That we do in collaboration with organizations like CFARM and other development financial institutions in order to be able to provide financial support to cooperatives. We do that in partnership, as I mentioned previously. Strategic pillar number 2 is to increase non-financial support to cover the value chain of cooperatives. So we are there, we're developing programs that will help improve the quality of the business, look at research, look at what can be done, what are the new technologies that are there that can be able to assist the cooperatives. The third pillar is mainly create the demand for cooperative products and services using 30% set aside. We all know that we are talking about procurement at the moment, and we would like to make sure that cooperatives also access that slice where they can be able to provide services to the different government department. And pillar number 4 is to improve sustainability of cooperatives by developing support measures made to be able to assist these cooperatives. So we are there as SEDA working with the partners, working with the municipality to be able to do that. So within SEDA, we have this unit where mainly we provide leadership in the establishment of cooperatives and collectively owned enterprises. We facilitate successful participation of cooperatives in the mainstream economy. We increase participation of rural people in the economy through cooperative enterprises and other collectively owned enterprises. We also foster a culture of cooperation for the benefit of the affected communities. I think I had left this principle out there when I was talking about the principles of cooperation. Within SEDA, the unit emphasizes and promote and facilitate the establishment of co-ops and collectively owned enterprises. We engage the public and the private partners for technical and financial resources. We also facilitate the use of natural resources available in those rural communities. Use a tool with early warning signs for better monitoring and evaluation. That's what we do. What we are also as we implement our programs, we also do scoping, feasibility studies, and mobilization. We also do the EIAs. You know that when you're running a poultry farm, you need to do an EIA and get the documents approved by the department. We work together with the Department of Rural Development in that case, project planning, enterprise development, and assist you with access to funding, business opportunity support services, and mentorship. You know that mentorship is very important, especially with the development of businesses and cooperatives. We also look at skills development, training, and education. We will, as we work with the cooperatives, we will look at what are the gaps within the cooperatives and what type of training will be required, and work with you in order to deliver that type of services to you. We also conduct impact assessments for the departments. Once the department has funded, the cooperatives will go out there. We do the support, technical support, mentorship in all the sectors as mentioned previously. We also provide information. We engage community members so that you can approach SEDA with ideas and to form a support relationship with us, so that when you start your business, you know and you understand why you are in a co-op. It shouldn't be that you are in a co-op because somebody said there's funding. You must be in there because There's a common bond between yourself and the members. There's also a common bond between how you are going to function as a cooperative. Remember, I'm here emphasizing cooperative development as I was asked to do that, but we do everything. We support also SMME, the PTYs, and other formations. We work with the district and local municipalities, the national department. One of the models that we pride ourselves with is called Rural Enterprise Empowerment Model, which is REAP, which gives you early signs. If you are working with a cooperative, you can see that this co-op now is not moving in the right direction. We mobilize that, and we also focus on the Act and the Amended Act. Colleagues and all the attendees, those who are cooperatives, I would like you to acquaint yourself with the Amended Cooperative Act. One of the most important things that comes out from the Amended Act is the fact that where you find that already you have older members who are not able to carry those chicken pens and clean the chicken house and so forth, there is a way that you can deal with that, because you are allowed to bring in associate members. So I would like you to acquaint yourself with this so that you can bring in associate members. They can work with a co-op for a period of 12 months. If you guys are happy, you can then get them to becoming members of the cooperative. So yeah, then we also work with secondary cooperatives. This is linked to clustering. You cluster primary cooperatives, you come up with a secondary cooperative. They have a role to play. Networking activities, business development for primary cooperative, market intelligence, relevant information pertaining to sustaining the cooperative, market platforms, and so forth. They also lobby services on behalf of the primary cooperative members. They also can assist you with bulk buying. Here you are lots of primary cooperatives in the Eastern Cape. You can establish a secondary cooperatives to be able to buy at a cheaper price and be able to have a place where you can store your goods and services using the secondary cooperative. We also look at quality improvement. We have a quality unit within SEDA that can assist you with that. We also have SEDA technology program that can assist you with buying equipment. Say, for example, you want something to measure, to check the size of your eggs that you will do. You can approach SEDA technology to do that. So we've spoken about clustering. Clustering is the same as the secondary cooperative. Sometimes we cluster businesses and cooperatives. It depends on what the market wants. Then we have what we call the large-scale cooperative, where we look at established and operational cooperative that employ a minimum of 20 people. Through SEDA and partners, we support to create and sustain jobs. Also, you have markets, and then we generate income, and you're going to distribute that as members. Large-scale projects are self-sustainable, and they have to be running and be able to get other partners, work with the different sector partner, maintain the existing jobs, look at skills development, and also look at integrated local development in order to inform the development. I'm not going to go through this because basically it's just explaining that large-scale projects is a project that we look at it and say, we are looking at this cooperative, we're going to take you through a client journey for about 3 years, work with you and ensure that you are able to access finance, you're able to access the value chain, you're able to access all the other business services that we offer as SEDA. What we expect from this is that we facilitate access to markets, business development and capacity building. We facilitate quality improvement of products. We also facilitate access to appropriate infrastructure. the model that I was talking to you about, the RIP model, where we are able to look at a cooperative or a cluster or an LSP and make sure that it functions effectively. We are able to identify the signs that things are not working well. So the model covers mobilization, where siyahamba siyokhuluma ney'nkosi and understand what are the needs of a particular community, what is it that they want to address, is there any thing that we need to, say for example, they have IP, we need to look at intellectual property that this particular community has, and we look at engaging with all the stakeholders from the onset. So we mobilize the community from the onset. Then we move with the community to develop the enterprise, where we look at developing the entrepreneurship and making sure that everything works. And then transfer and transformation, that's when we are just about to hand over the project to you. So this is a facilitation model and an empowerment model, because we empower the communities to be able to deliver. What we cover with mobilization is that we look at business planning, preparing guidelines, signing MOUs, and so forth. Then we move to the implementation of the enterprise, where we look at authorization, the legislation, getting the legal entity established. Then we look at transfer and transformation, where we hand over to the community to be able to run with the projects. Some of the challenges that we are facing as we work with cooperatives is that policies are not implemented. We do have very good policies, and there's a lack of national and provincial coordinating, where we can have a committee to avoid duplication of services. What you find is that people get money from national office, they'll also get money from the provinces, they'll also get services from SEDA, get services from the Youth Development Agency, get funding from agriculture, and get funding from CIFA and so forth. So we would like to see this addressed, because it is a challenge. Lack of situational analysis that needs to be done annually, so that we see what is happening within the sector. Lack of research in the cooperative sector. We don't have a baseline at the moment to say, yes, this is the work that was done, and these are the cooperatives. We have so many successful cooperatives. Zero intake of 4IR opportunities. You know that ICT is one of the challenges that we have. We're not even too sure if we will be able to address that, but we need to be moving to that stage where our cooperatives are able to use ICT, and they're able to communicate and be, on top of it when it comes to networking. Lack of professional skills in the cooperative space. We do have quite a lot of professionals that are out there. Our unemployed graduates who can come in as associate members to come and help our cooperatives build their skills. And as a cooperative, you will decide whether you give them a stipend, what's going to happen. So we need that in order to build the professional skills. Access to market keeps on coming up all the time, because we need to have the cooperative accessing the markets. We're talking about localization at this stage, where we want to buy eggs that are from South Africa. We want to buy chicken that comes from our country. So cooperatives, here is an opportunity for you to be able to get into this market and be able to deliver. Financial challenges and capacity development still plays a major role in the development of cooperatives. So how do we control circulation of money in rural communities? If we have a cooperative in our community, why can't the whole community buy from that particular cooperative? Know that at the end of the day, they become the members of the cooperative. They are able to get at the end of the day. Maybe by December, when you've done extra, you're able to give each community member a chicken. And you know that everybody buys from you. They don't go next door to go and buy. They buy from their own community. I want to take this opportunity and thank all of you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Mamukoka. We really appreciate the experiences and the background in the poultry sector, as well as the opportunities that are there for us as a farmer to actually exploit and take advantage. And I'll tell you about the video. Basithumela ivideo Solwandle. Sicela ucime ivideo yakho mama. Solwandle, can you please switch off your video? Your camera is on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We were expecting MEC to actually join us today, but we got a message that she is being deployed in other district municipality, and she won't be able to actually join us because of technical glitches on her side. We have also asked Mr. Uleon Kutie, who is the DGG from the Department of Agriculture. He will join us shortly. He will join us shortly. He will join us shortly, Mr. Leon Kutie from the Department of Agriculture. He is actually the DDG. But whilst he is actually preparing to join us, we've got Mr. Ayanda Motelwa. As we can see on the program, that we have 4 commissions. The first commission. And the third commission is funding. The fourth one is abattoirs. Umshwelwa is going to facilitate the 2 commissions. We're not going to have breakaway commissions as planned before, but we'll have the whole audience discussing and making inputs on the same item. So we're going to start with the hatchery. I will give a little bit of a background in terms of the challenges that we are faced with as farmers in the Eastern Cape, so that everyone who has actually managed to join us today will make his or her inputs in terms of the resolution and on how can we actually solve the challenges that we are faced with as farmers when it comes to umcimbi hatchery and the shortage of day-old chicks in the Eastern Cape. Then when we are done with that one, we do have someone that is going to keep notes for us so that we come up with a full documentation or that has got our resolutions in all these 4 commissions. But now we're going to start with the hatchery. I will give a little bit of background. When we are done with the I'm sure on his side, he will be ready to provide with the presentation that was supposed to be given by on Mr. Motelo, can you hear me?
Yes, Mboya, I can hear you. I can hear you now. You disappeared for a moment.
Thank you very much. No, thank you very much. I'm glad that you can hear me. I will actually give a little bit of a background when it comes to the challenge that we are faced with, especially in the Eastern Cape. This is to give an indication to participants that we all have an understanding and we are all on board when we are deliberating, making inputs in terms of assisting in solving the challenges that we are faced with. As farmers in the Eastern Cape, Farmers Poultry Association, we started the association 3 years back when we realized that we are facing a lot of challenges and we were working in silos and we were not having people that have got an experience in terms of sharing that knowledge with us as farmers. So we said we would like to form this association so that we have a mouthpiece where we will be approaching various stakeholders like departments and the agencies like such as OSITA, in terms of the challenges that we're faced with. Currently, our farmers in the Eastern Cape are struggling to obtain day-old chicks. And this have started 3 months ago, and it's something that has been happening for almost 3 years now since we have been in the sector. We don't have day-old chicks. We don't even have suppliers within our province. We rely from suppliers from outside of Eastern Cape, like areas of my KZN, Gauteng. Now we just received an email, I think it was a month ago, when we were informed that we're gonna face or have this problem with us until April next year. This is gonna be a problem for us starting from last month up until April next year. There's gonna be a shortage. If you go to the suppliers that we have in the Eastern Cape, you will notice that they've got a waiting list of about 500 people. And those people have been waiting since June, have been in that waiting list since June. That is the huge challenge that we have when it comes to day-old chicks. We try to actually solve that problem by buying the small incubators. For example, on my farm, I've got one incubator that takes about 1,600 fertile eggs. But now that we don't have the parent stock, mostly our farmers in the Eastern Cape, when we were doing a research, we noticed if we can combine those incubators, all of the incubators that belong to our farmers, the capacity that was last year, the capacity was around 56,000 individually. If we combine all those individual incubators that are owned by individual farmers, when we pull them together, the total capacity when it comes to fertile eggs, they can produce or hatch 56,000 day-old chicks in a month or in a cycle. That is a 3-week cycle. But now we have also other farmers that are actually also bought these new incubators. But now the challenge that we have is that our production cycle are not synchronized. And the people that were supplying us with the fertilized eggs now have stopped supplying us since last month. That is the challenge that we have. So even those that were owning incubators, we are stuck. We can't actually produce according to the capacity of the production that we have as the farmers. So I just wanted to share that kind of background when we talk and discuss and deliberate on this item. These are the issues that we need to know and also to understand. In Ndobana, we've got a big problem when it comes to the supply of day-old chicks. All our suppliers in the Eastern Cape, they don't have chicks currently. So since last month in June, in other areas, we don't have day-old chicks. Thank you very much, colleagues. After this commission that might take around 10 to 15 minutes, we will allow Mr. Kutse, when he has joined us, to deliver the speech on behalf of Umamunonkobela Peterson, who is the Honorable MEC of Agriculture. Over to you, enkokheli yam Mr. Ayanda Mbochelo. Mr. Ayanda Mbochelo ke is the CEO of Utalita. He has been working with us for a very long time in the agricultural sector, as well as especially in the poultry sector, or arrangements that things be looking forward in the near future. Thank you very much, Mr. Mbochelo. Over to you, my leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Mboyi. Thank you, Mr. Mbane, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks for this opportunity. It is long overdue that we gather in an event of this nature. Mr. Mbane has given a pretty good background in terms of the challenges that are facing industry, particularly in the Eastern Cape. As business, we know that any shortage in the value chain presents an opportunity for some of us to close that gap and leverage on that. So we will open a moment of discussions for farmers to come up either with questions that we might be able to look at, or suggestions in terms of how do we close the gap that we have of chicks, and what challenges and solutions can we come up as poultry farmers to solve our own problems. So it is important, ladies and gentlemen, to know that this is not an opportunity for us to close our eyes and cry at one another. We are looking more for suggestions in terms of how we can solve our problems. So when you want to speak, just raise your hand and we will recognize you. Thank you. Who wants to take the first shot? Okay, there is a hand up. Okay, let me just open this so I can see who it is. Sis Nolita, please go ahead.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Mr. Mbane, in your presentation, I thought maybe you will touch on why is it such a big problem to get the parent stock? That's all said, because we're lacking the fertile eggs because we don't have the parent stock. Why is it so difficult for us farmers to attain that parent stock? Thank you.
Engozi Nolita, so we'll take the other two hands as well, Umlamli, followed by Pila, and then we can get a response. And anyone else other than Mr. Mbane, if you are able to respond, we will appreciate that. All right, over to you, Umlamli.
Hi, good morning to everyone, and hope we're having a quite an interesting and informative session here. I'm very much impressed. However, in the process of ukuqala nokufufuza mhlambi manyathele nje izinto before ndibuze lo mbuzo. Umzekelo, there is a good friend of mine from upper kwilali elapha ePhedi, King actually, who's an engineer, is doing PhD yakhe currently. And this guy is able to create a hatchery using natural light and also amavili lawe bicycle to create quite a massive hatchery. But again, I'm sure naye bengazazi indawo now that I hope ebekule meeting ezabakwazi ukubona apho khona nafumana khona uncedo indawo ezifana noSida and everything. I think I'm going to let him know about this particular meeting. However, my appeal and also my charge to everyone is that aposifela khona thina is to give power, always to give power to someone to have that buying power. Kulapha abantu bokufika basohlula khona because bona into abavike bayenze bavike banikeza umuntu oyi-1 who's a Pakistan okanye Somalian to have that buying power to have everything. Thina ke kuba nzima kuyinikeza loo nto. Besikwi-session yase-KZN apho khona we've noticed ukuthi abantu abangabaXhosa actually base-Eastern Cape ababambenanga. After we've realized and noticed how abantu base-KZN indlela ababambene ngayo. Now I will charge everyone. We have 2 companies, which is Umeleka. Umeleka's role is to actually do farming and also host ezifana nale esizawuyenza next year. Then we've got Abantu Foods. Abantu Foods, what we do, we want to collect and have data yabantu abenza chicken, so that we have buying powers. Sizithathe chicken nalamakanda from everyone and sell these things to both formal and informal market. But now, because abantu bokufika bathathe everything, we can't even get a single shop or warehouse whereby we can slow these to sifumane izinto kuma-farmer, sifumane inkukhu, sifumane everything. How can USIDA and everyone help in terms of us making sure ukuthi abantu futhi umzekelo bandiyafika kuqoboqobo must be able to say kwiinkukhu zakho ndifuna undinike eziyi-50 amaqanda ngemini, and then uzibrande abantu futhi, ungabi nangxaki futhi yokuzibranda abantu futhi, because you are giving one person buying power. So that xa ndiyothetha mna no-Boxer, xa ndiyothetha no-Shoprite, xa ndizifaka izinto ndizistore, we've got both formal and informal market. How does USIDA assist us in making sure we're forming our own Boxer in the Eastern Cape, so that abantu bethu bazokwazi ukuthenga kuthi, sithathe ne-shop zethu ezisolokishini buyazi nasezilalini bayishop yakabhaca le yakwabani, because we have the power. Siyithathile sayizisa kuthi. How does USIDA assist us in terms of, though there's quite a lot of business and logistic, umzekelo thina sithatha nje ukutya, but ngubani uzasitransportela le nto? Unovela omnye umfama athi mna I'm going to do just transportation. Farming is not only, chicken is not only la maqanda nezanto, ne-logistics around zona needs to be well looked after, so that we are running a well-oiled machine. How can USIDA help us and assist us in making sure that ukutya oku kusuka kwamafama kuyafika ebantwini?
Enkosi Mlamli. Ngicela umuntu xegqiba uthetha asithobe isandla sakhe, so that we can keep track of who have spoken, and ngiyathemba kanjalo that the people to whom the questions are directed, they are taking notes, because we will take these 2 hands that are remaining now, Upila Nomathupa, and then we will allow a moment for responses. Over to you, Upila.
Enkosi mhlanga ngaphambili mandibulise kuyo wonke umuntu walapha. Umbuzo ebendinawo sewukhaverishiwe ngusister lobethethe ekuqaleni, umfama lobethethe ekuqaleni, because xa bekuthethwa ngale commission kuvele kweqatha kum ukuthi eyona nto that we struggle a lot yi-parent stock. Nam ndinomdla kakhulu uba singacaciselwa ukuthi mhlambi, because olwam ulwazi luselincinci kakhulu, ndisakhasa apha kwi-farming, ukuthi what is it that is difficult, like ukusecure as parent stock, okanye ayiyongxaki ukusecure i-problem kuzinakekela, ukuzikhulisa, ukuthi mhlawumbi ziyadura okanye yinto lena ziyidingayo, because i-challenge lena ayithethayo uMr Mbane nyhani indeed kwiindawo esisikuzo okoko 3 months, not 3 months, 4 months siyestrugglisha ngofumana i-day-old chicken. If it's possible, mandisese ndifaka le input yam ukwenzela uba ndisese ndigqiba. Ndizawucela mani mna into endinomdlana ngayo kakhulu ku-Eastern Cape Cooperative Association, sizame ukuthi kuyo noba sithi ku-local municipality or i-district, kube khona an established hatchery that is approved by Eastern Cape Cooperative Association. The reason I'm saying this is because sometimes you'll find bakhona abantu that are selling all-day-old chicken, but we are not sure, because sometimes xa usemtsha ungenazo knowledge enkulu, you believe, you rely kakhulu kwi-organization oqondayo uba yiyo enikeza abantu i-requirements eyenza sure uba into ye-requirements ye-approval uba what you sell to the people is approved and equality. Now xa ungabantu abafikayo ke especially thina basuke ezilalini kufika kube nzima uba silibone ndenza umzekelo intshontsho elincinci uba li-equality or not. Ufumanisa kuthe ufika kuwe ke ngoku kuloo ndawo wakhulisela kuyo uwabone sifa. Now loo nto ingayi-eliminate ii-challenges esizifayisayo singabantu abasakhasayo abasuka kakhulu kwiindawo esisuka kuzo if u-Eastern Cape Poultry Association angenza sure uba noma si-start kwi-district or local government municipalities wenza sure uba you have an approved hatchery that is there ebekiweyo that umntu nje immediately xa ibona nansi logo ka-Eastern Cape Poultry Association kule hatchery, then meaning that what they supply is in quality. If something happened banayo indawo aba-accounta kuyo, because most of the time ufumanisa abantu bathengisela abantu izinto ezingekho in quality, then akukho apho ba-accounta khona. Even abantu akho ndawo abanokhalaza kuyo bathi no sinale ngxaki yezinto esizifumanayo and azikho kwi-standard esicinga uba si-right, because abantu umuntu uza nje ezizela yedwa. Enkosi.
Sikvile Phila, Enkosi, we will touch on this looking at definition equality that you are talking about. There will be one more hand, Umatupa, and then we will take responses. Over to you, Umatupa.
Enkosi cha bulise wonke umuntu emeetingini. Ndingubakhusele Mathupa Mafama kuGatyana ndifamisha iBushveld. Ndi-specialize kakhulu nge-parent stock, ndinamaqanda fertile, ndenza amantshontsho, thengisa i-point of lace. But i-meeting yandibhidisa andazi noba mhlawumbi ndizayibamba egambeni ingathi kuthethwa nge-broiler only ngamafama asethethile. Andazi noba mhlawumbi ibi-specific i-meeting kwi-broiler na, kodwa ke nansi input yam. I think apho siqala khona ukuyiphazama lento amafama okanye apho singayibambi kakuhle khona ncam yindlela ehamba ngayo lento ye-parent stock. Wonke umfama othethayo ukhalazela i-parent stock, ukhalazela equality. Akusoze amafama sibe nayo equality ye-parent stock namaqanda sisawa transport asuke ngapha eDurban azofika e-Eastern Cape. Soze siwafumane i-parent stock ezi-right uMr Mhlobo ezaba neenkukhu zakhe ezi-20 nam benizame ezi-15 nomnye benizi-10 azikhuli kwi-environment efanayo, azikhathalelwa ngabantu abafanayo, asinazo zonke ii-regulations ezikhoyo kwezi fama zamafama asele ephume izandla. So ingxaki yethu iqala kule nto, we need to find apha ku-Eastern Cape umfama ozokwazi athi yena specializer i-parent stock yebroiler if yebroiler. Lo mfama lobo ngulo uzobuilda ifama yakhe to a commercial level. Siyazi uba ii-growers ngala mafama asendaweni ethile okanye ngoMathupa kuGatyane umzekelo, yonke ibroiler yase-Eastern Cape izawusuka kuMathupa kulaa fama. Akwazi uba ndibe nebroiler zam edutywa uMr Mhlobo benebroiler parent stock epedi, ayizukwazi kwenzeka, ayenzeki. It is too expensive to khulisa the parent stock. Umzekelo intshontsho eli-1 le-parent stock 1 day old 1,800 one tick. So akululanga tu kusifumana apha Eastern Cape i-1 indawo yenza i-parent stock yebroiler ise-PE. Ayithengiseli mntu noba usuka phi soze wafumane amantshontsho wabo we-parent stock, because bazi growers bona they get amantshontsho from day old bewathatha from wherever bawathatha khona, but outside of Eastern Cape bakhulise as i-growers. Thathwa i-growers i-layers zabo kazi-ready ziphinde zisiwe komnye umfama ozofika yena specialize nge-point of lace, azitshintshe ezaa nkukhu zilungele ukuzala. Yi-background nje amafama endiyifumeneyo kule nto yokukhangela the parent stock. Tina, we are lagging behind because I want to go to eRhawutini ndiyozikhangelela 20 chickens ibe zezam ndicima zama ne-parent stock. There is no way that I can be able to supply Eastern Cape ngeenkukhu ndiyi-1 ziyi-200. I need about 100,000 ye-parent stock ukuze ndikwazi usuplya i-Eastern Cape. And kwazi ukuyenza loo nto ndingekho namanye amafama. Ingxaki yesibini endiqaphelayo amafama kule poultry indima ye-trust. I-business zethu azikhuli ziyendawo, abantu abasitrasti because bane-information ethi i-parent stock amaqanda fertile angu-A grade kunendawo especial asuka kuyo, and if wena usuka apha ezilalini around uyaziwa kanye waziwa, you cannot supply the best quality, which is a misconception. We are all trained ukukhulisa inkukhu ngendlela kodwa there's only one way yokukhulisa inkukhu ileya, noba umuntu useRhawutini noba useDurban. It just needs abantu abakwaziyo ukudibana bafocus kule nto eyi-one. Like for instance le nto ibithethwa ngutata esithi kube khona i-hatchery ethile esegcuba umzekelo, into enjalo sidinga loo nto enjalo manditshaye kuloo ndawo.
Thank you very much. You touched, and I allowed you a bit of time because you touched on very, very important aspects which are core to the discussion of today. For instance, we're talking about cooperatives. You touched on the issue of economies of scale to achieve what we want to achieve, and which Mr. Mbane had pointed out earlier when he was talking about setting up cooperatives where people aggregate their farms together in a central point, which will give us these economies of scale. I will give an opportunity to Mr. Mbane Nosida to respond to the questions that were raised to them. And we are running out of time. The 15 minutes that was given to me is almost up, maybe 1 or 2 minutes left. So I will give that opportunity and then we'll wrap up. Over to you, Mr. Mbane.
Thank you very much, facilitator. And also, I would like to respond to the question that was posed by Usisnoli Tanyikana, whereby she was saying why we don't have a parent stock in the Eastern Cape. And Kamnandi, Ubakusele have elaborated the challenges that we're faced with is that we don't trust each other, and the day-old chicks of a parent stock is very, very expensive. We also did our own extensive research last year, whereby we realized in Dobano COP 500 here in East London, they also do sell in the day-old chicks, that is the parent stock, but they would like to work together with the association. We struggled to fundraise sufficient financial resources in order to obtain or to buy those day-old chicks. They even offered to do a training for us on a free basis. And we also made available our farms. I think there were 3 farms across the Eastern Cape. In Nelson Mandela, there was one farmer who offered his own private farm to house a certain portion of day-old chicks. And we also have one in Bisho, and the other one was in Krisan. Now, the challenge was the issue of financial resources. We even approached the Department of Agriculture in terms of obtaining an assistance to buy these day-old chicks. So that is the main challenge. We do have people that are willing to sell these day-old chicks to us, but the problem is financial resources, and it is very, very expensive even to raise those day-old chicks. We need people that have got expertise. So COP 500 actually offered themselves to train us and also to provide a mentorship. We even tried to start a cooperative whereby we were saying as farmers, let us pull together the financial resources so that we can even buy a minimum of 200 day-old chicks. But that actually collapsed because of the issues or the concerns that were raised by Obakusele, the previous speaker, that we don't trust each other. So I think perhaps this meeting is going to take a direction whereby we are saying we need to establish a cooperative that might be assisted by or USIDA in terms of the funding and development of the business plan. The second question, I think USIDA will also respond on the question that was posed to them. I think Upila also raised the very same question that was related to Lekama Munyikano Uti. What is the challenge that we have here in the Eastern Cape? And there's also another item that you raised, the issue of someone that is supplying incubators in the Eastern Cape. He says that there's a gentleman that is actually doing a PhD. I would like to actually have contacts with him so that we can have someone within the province that is manufacturing the incubator so that we don't rely on other provinces.
Mr. Mbane, you have muted or we have lost you. Okay. In the interest of time, until
it is currently. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mbane. Mr. Soga, is it Mr. Soga that's representing SIDA? Or anyone from SIDA that's able to pick up on those questions? Will really appreciate a response then. Any response from SIDA? All right, while we are waiting for SIDA, there was an issue.
I'm not trading from SIDA.
All right, carry on, SIDA. It looks like we don't have anyone from SIDA at this point. So I was saying, whilst we are waiting for a response from SIDA, there was someone who mentioned the issue of quality of stock. Look, it's absolutely critical for us to realize that the importance of a need to work together. Poultry leads itself to, because it's an intensive system, to an easier collaboration other livestock forms that we have. But one of the key things when you're defining that quality is your biosecurity, the extent to which the chicks, day-old chicks that you are selling are protected from key diseases that will affect your stock earlier on. Maybe at this point, I posted earlier on there that for those people that are hatching about 2,000 plus a week, to please contact us, to contact Talita Farmer. I posted a WhatsApp number there because we are initiating a project. The project is funded to assist developing farmers hatching from 2,000 and above. Economies of scale are absolutely important here. So this 2,000 and above is not necessarily for an individual. You can come as a group. We will assist you to set up the vaccination infrastructure, fridges, machines, so that we can vaccinate your eggs before they hatch. That's one of the things that will improve the quality of the stock that you produce. So I'm very encouraged by the number that was suggested by Mr. Mbane here, pulling together over 56,000 day-old chicks produced per cycle. It is really promising. All it says to us, this presents an opportunity for us to keep talking, which will deal with the trust issues that we have. Because we working in silos, we are far from one another. So we need to find a way to collaborate more. Do we still have no one from SIDA? Okay. Unfortunately, SIDA is not responding there, and I think their input was very important. But wrapping up, touching on what Mr. Mbane was saying earlier on in terms of the difficulty of raising funds to start these I'll call them mega farms that we need in order to be able to produce this parent stock. Banmaguti, kubalekile ukusebenzisana, and we will only achieve that when we are deliberate about it. As one speaker has pointed out earlier on, yinto abantu bokufika abasibetha ngayo leyo. If we have to undo that policy divide and rule, it's not going to happen naturally. It's something that we need to be actively pursuing it so that we can close ranks among one another. Mr. Chair, I will give Indambo back to you before I take too much of the time that you had given to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mocheba. Unfortunately, we have Mr. Kudzie, Leon Kudzie, who is the DGG from the Department of Agriculture. He's here representing MEC, as well as Mr. Daimani, who is the HOD of the department. Mr. Kudzie, are you still in the meeting?
Yes, I am. Thank you, sir.
Oh, yes, you are welcome, sir. You can deliver your message to the farmers. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. All protocol observed. I must apologize for linking in a bit late. I was not entirely aware of this this event. Be it as it may, Sihlalo, thank you very much for the opportunity. I once again apologize for MEC Peters, as she has been engaged in another very important commitment. I apologize for her, and I also apologize for our acting head of the department, who is actually sitting not very far from me. So we'll be listening what I am saying, but he's engaged in another important event that revolves around funding of the agricultural sector in the province as a whole, which I will come to at a later stage. But nevertheless, thank you very much. I'm not going to flag a presentation. I haven't prepared it in that fashion, but maybe I was when I was linked in, there was a person, Mlamli, that was speaking as a farmer and as a potential expansion on the project. I cannot agree more with him with what he said, because the poultry. I grew up in Queenstown and Bonkor. My father was a partner in a poultry business there, which was quite significant. We had a little abattoir and everything that went by it, and I can tell you now it it's a as you correctly have said, it's an intensive enterprise. You need to know exactly what you are doing. We fed the chickens in those days. We fed them too fat, and then eventually they ate the profit. Physically ate the profit of that industry. But maybe to come back to the order of the day, Chair, the total value of animals and animal products in this province, in other words, meat, wool, and everything, is 138 billion rand. That is an amount that is certainly beyond my imagination. If you add the value add to that, Chairperson, in other words, the feed, the transport, the logistics, the abattoir costs, and so on, it gets to 286 billion. Now, if you just look at those two figures alone, and that includes poultry and it includes other industries as well, you can see that the profit margins, even in the animal industry, is not a rich man's business. The margins or the profit margins per unit, Chair, are relatively low compared to other produce. Obviously, the industry in which you are is the largest sector in this country in terms of animals. That includes the eggs and so on. It constitutes more than 40% of the value of all animal products, including inyama, from this. Having said that, we import meat. We don't produce enough meat of all the natures, of all kinds in this country. We still import beef. We still import poultry, which is another topic by itself. We only produce in the order of 27% of what we consume. People in this country, I'm just throwing a few figures at you, which will come to the point. People in this country consume a total of 48 kilograms of eggs and poultry meat per annum. That's a lot. That's a lot. So what I'm trying to say, it's a massive potential. It's a massive potential that exists. Now, coming to the matter in the province itself, we are as a province, a net importer of all those products, poultry products and eggs. Specifically on eggs, there is what they call in the market, Chairperson, a vacuum, a market vacuum. And the market vacuum stretches from Buffalo City up to Lusiki, up to Queenstown, Ekomani. There's simply not enough eggs produced within the province or imported to provide in that area. Now, you will agree with me, that's also the poorest area, poorest population of the province. And in turn, they are hammered with prices, exorbitant prices, because of the shortage that is there. That just adds to that. There's one company in the province from Sarah Bartman that actually exports poultry, but it's compared to the bigger picture of things, it is really not making any difference towards the demand and supply. Let alone, Chairperson, the 2 billion rand that we as a government in the province spend on food and food products for our facilities. Those are the health facilities, the schools, the correctional services, etc. So if we, I heard the word of some companies mentioned earlier. It's just that market is massive. So to answer the question, attempt to answer the question, Chair. Again, going back to what Mlamli was saying, and again, I underwrite what he was saying. The first issue that as an organization you need to deal with is creating a single production or industry representative institution. There are many examples of that, because certainly what we notice in government, and probably what the buyers of the produce are experiencing, that our smallholder and black farmers and poultry producers are coming in at erratically. In other words, the 1 month you can supply, and then there's a lull in this production, and then it carries on. Now, you will agree with me that a buyer of which nature whatsoever, whether it's government. Am I still audible, Chair? Am I still audible, Chair? Gavaka?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. You will agree with me that whether it's the government or the private sector markets, they would rather pay more for supply that is consistent in terms of quality and quantity than to pay less for ad hoc type of suppliers. So the first point that I want to emphasize, Chairperson and members of the event, is that yes, it's necessary. And I've been and listening to what the previous speakers were saying, I would spend probably 90% of this event on what type of institutional structure that is acceptable for everyone. A second point, Chair, that I would like, and that is it's a itorofia, and that is that we have spent as a department substantial amounts in this industry. I'm using two examples. If we go back in the books of the department since the 90s, you will find that there has been billions spent on poultry and layers in the department. However, it is erratic of nature, and we agree with that. It's 1 year it's poultry, and the next year it's something else, and so it carries on. It's not a consistent type of support. We agree with that. But what is heartbreaking in Mhlongo, is that we spent, I think it's 16 million on a hatchery. I think it's at Ndabakazi. It's standing there and it's rusting. It's been vandalized. It's a state-of-the-art structure. When I was asked to do this, I just called one of our engineers who was involved in it, who has since retired. He said to me that facility is state-of-the-art as it was built. So, as an appeal to this institution and to the farmers, maybe one must consider reviving that hatchery so that it comes to its rightful place. And that was initially it was to provide the necessary seed stock for the industry in the province, and it's standing there. I don't know if I haven't been there recently, but it's standing there. A second one, Chair, is the state-of-the-art abattoir that we built in Makana, Egin. It never operated even close to its capacity of production. So, and those facilities, I'm pretty sure that not only government, but also the intended beneficiaries at the time and currently would be more than willing to work with yourselves, with the relevant government departments, funding institutions, etc., to get those structures fully operational, to get them done. Now, let's come to the funding option, and Firstly, I want to emphasize one thing, Chair, and that is we as a Department of Rural Development and Agrarian Reform in the province are probably the worst farmers that you can get. We are not farmers, singamakos. And that often, and often it leads to what I said earlier called erratic type of support. It is dependent on procurement systems, tenders, and its timing is normally not in sync, as someone earlier said, talking about the breeding stock, is not in sync with the production requirements of farmers. Now we've faced that, and it has been one of the major criticisms, even from our oversight committees, that we get in and out and we leave and we assume people will carry on. Now, what we have done, and this is very critical for yourselves as an entity. We have negotiated with the Land Bank as a department. And what we're trying to achieve there, and it's well advanced in terms of the regulatory framework and the nuts and bolts and the paperwork with regards to that, is to set up a blended finance model. That is to ensure that agricultural sector entities can get their funding at the right time and for the right matters. Now, without going into too much detail, it says what it means. It means blended funding. Blended means, in this sense, there's a portion grant and a portion loan involved in that, administered by joint structures of the department as well as the Land Bank. If I may use an example, for someone that wants to start a poultry feed structure, a feed factory to able to provide this industry, and I believe there's a huge potential in that. The grant portion would basically cover the infrastructure that is required on that, similar to our hatchery and similar to our abattoir that is there. The operations part of it, in other words, the feedstock, the salaries and the wages, the operations, the transport, etc., will be done by means of a soft loan, and that will be made available through the very same systems. Where it comes from is that, yes, we've spent money as government on infrastructure. We sometimes spend money on inputs and other matters. But it's not conducive for the producers to access that and to ensure that they are sustainable in this whole matter. The last point that I want to make, Chair, if I may, and that is the massive potential that lies in the government market. If I may use the Magwa tea example, we've been producing tea. It's also intensive. It can in many ways be compared to European industry. Collins, is that okay?
Yes, so but someone else was talking.
What has happened there? But none of that tea made its way to our shopping centers, even close by to the Magwa tea estate. So what has happened is that we've negotiated with government that all departments would buy their tea through the normal procurement processes from Magwa. They in their turn, and this is where the key lies for you as an industry, is to make sure that you can have consistent supplies of the product that you are offering, whether it's eggs or poultry or poultry meat or what it may be, because inherently amakosa sionen to if you've got a supplier that the 1 month can supply your department with 20 tons of poultry, and the next month not that and that is cumbersome. But that's where the principle lies into the government markets, is to ensure that compliance. To that end, you will recall that the Eastern Cape Rural Development Agency set up rural economic hubs, red hubs. There's one in Umtata, Kantuli, Lusikisiki, Nocha, etc. And we are reviving those or restructuring those red hubs to be aggregation centers. And it by no means excludes the livestock industry. It does not, and it lesser so the poultry industry, where the farmers that are around that structure will be enabled to sell their produce via that red hub. So, Chair, I don't want to be too long. I've been looking at the time here as well. I don't want to waste too much of your time. Basically, there are three messages or three parts to the message that I want to bring, and that is establish an effective institution that represents the industry. It basically speaks for itself. That is how, to be quite honest with you, that is how the white commercial farmers organized themselves in the past to lobby at government and other sources. That's how they did it. You'll recall some of them still exist. The grain people and the red meat people, etc., etc. That is of critical importance. Number two is maybe. I'm just saying maybe here. When I was listening to the previous speakers, the existing infrastructure, and it can be beyond those two that I've managed. It's very possible that there are other entities as well. I know we have supported a youth project with a poultry project in KSD, etc. The point that I want to make is that no one needs to pay for that infrastructure. That infrastructure, it's there, it's standing there. It's actually deteriorating if we don't use it. So that's the second point that I want to make. And then the last point is to carry the message, and I'm not trying to stand in the stairs of or the shoes of our Honourable MEC. The last point is that we are looking, and we are well advanced in looking at getting a more effective funding mechanism by which farmers can access their funding as and when they require it. Chairperson, I want to congratulate you with your event. I unfortunately wasn't in here from the beginning, but I was listening to the previous speakers and the questions and the comments. Indeed, it would appear to me that it's a very fruitful event. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coutier. That was mouthful, especially coming from the Department of Agriculture. You have given us a background and the challenges as well as the opportunities that are provided by the department in terms of solving the issues or challenges that we are faced with as the farmers. And you have even highlighted the hatchery that is in Mkanduli. The village is called Ntseche. We once visited that as the association just to try and find out as to how can we start building working relations with the owner of the hatchery. Those negotiations actually collapsed because of trust amongst ourselves as farmers. But I'm really happy that you are highlighting, saying that there is
to facilitate the department in the province to assist. And that was not the first, as well as the last facility that was meant to assist us as far as there are also many abattoirs across Eastern Cape, where we even visited personally as the chairperson leading the delegation from the association, working with the local extension officers in those areas. I'm really happy that you are highlighting that, especially the other issue that you were raising, the blended finance, which is going to be a vehicle that will actually assist us as farmers. We really welcome it, because I remember that last time you mentioned it in a meeting that we attended. No, it was mentioned by the acting HOD in a meeting that we had last year. I'm really happy now that it's gaining fruition in terms of mobilized so that it can actually assist us as farmers. Thank you very much for your speech, Mhlekazi wami. Siyabulela kakhulu. And we look forward to work with the Department of Agriculture in terms of providing support and direction, and also deliberate on many issues that we're faced with. Even the report that will be compiled from this Indaba, we'll share with HOD as well as with MEC, as well as with you, Mr. Coetzee, or the department as a whole, so that we share the experiences and the lessons that we have learned, so that when we work forward or when we plan for the future, we plan with using the informed information that is coming from various stakeholders as well as the farmers. Thank you very much for providing or availing yourself to come and present in a short notice. We spoke yesterday with HOD, inviting him to come so that she can actually replace Ulendo, MEC. But thank you very much, Mr. Coetzee, for coming and availing yourself. Now we will move on. So if one now on the second one, which is also a feed commission, which is also another challenge. I will hear from you before I can actually just give a little background when it comes to the feed challenge that we have in the province. Over to you, facilitator, Mr. Moshala.
All right. Thanks again, Chair. It's always great to have an opportunity as audience in meetings like this to give our own input. And these commissions aim to do exactly that, so that we know that we've had experts speaking here. Mr. Coetzee's talk was very enlightening in terms of the opportunities that are there. So now we're going to talk about feed, what challenges and opportunities farmers are aware of. How can we manage those challenges or leverage the opportunities, take advantage of the opportunities? So we will give an opportunity to farmers to participate. You will indicate by show of hands when you are ready to ask a question or give input, as we did earlier. All right, and we do have a hand. I just don't have a view of who it is right now. I'm just going to go to the right. Okay, Mlamli, please go ahead, Mlamli.
Nkosine, I'm not sure whether I've got the aircon. I need to bring Lendo, my farm, while we still waiting for a process, yokuba sikwazi uzenzela i-manufacturing plant eyezaba yethu or whoever zawuyenza, whereby siyakwazi ukufumana i-feed from kuye, so that we participate in this economy sonke singayothenga nje into. At the current moment, I do have a contract kunye no-Apple to provide i-feed, which is i-feed is going to be cheaper even more than abantu abanithenga kuthengwa kubo umzekelo from these other provinces. But the thing is, at the moment, what we don't have is ngabantu abathenga the feed, because there's a certain minimum order that I need to do from them in order for me to get that discount. Umzekelo, I need to order about 200 of mhlambi starter, 200 of that. Now, if I have abantu, then getting that, now we need to work on the logistic umzekelo ePholo useBerlin. Now, how do we take this thing in Kandud? How do we take thing a Kokstad? If in need ikhona ethi makubekho enye isilo ezawubapha apho izawusondela khona ebantwini, that we can do. But the contract does exist between myself and Apple, and we can get these things at a very reasonable price.
Enkosi Mlamli, that is great input. Kubantu that are closer to Kokstad, for that matter, it may even be easier for them to draw stock from Maritzburg, because that's where EPOL is as well. So I may be able to assist for people that want to make those contacts there. But the bottom line here is economies of scale. That's what we need. And unfortunately, I am going to refer to this. Abantu bokufika basibetha ngalondo. They close ranks. So I don't see any hands. Mafama, talk to us. This is our thing. All right. We do have Sisnolita. Sisnolita, after you, izoba ngumnumzana uXolisa Bomela. In that order.
All right, thanks Kokona. Eyithanda Mlamli le nto ichaphazelayo yoba unayo le existing contract. I hope ukuthi ungaqhubekeka neli cala lezi logistics in getting amafama. Kudala sizama, kudala i-CFPA izama le nto, but andisazi thina amafama amnyama le ndawo sihamba sithi khinkxi kuyo. Ihamba ke phofu ndiyayazi iye koka kungathembani. Kudala amafama athethayo apha umhlobo uyitatshile wathi asithembananga and asibheki indawo kokungathembani. Nam sendivele waqokelela amafama ndisithi masiyeni kwa-EPOL, ndinayo i-cash account pha. But when it comes to elaa xesha ningayenza ndande, ndifuna ukuthi Mlamli ngasikukho upushe le part yale the logistics of it. Basiqokelelana njani sithi kuwe I want my 20 bags, athi omnye 40, imali depositwe. Iyadina man, because we know what we need to do, but andiyazi kutheni ingathi sithanda nje ube sikhalaza, because kwakufuneka sibethele imali siveze ungathembani sithethe into zeminyaka elishumi egqithileyo. Ngasikukho uyibamba ubaleke nayo bhuti. Nkosi. It was just a comment.
Enkosi sis, Mr. Bomela.
Mandibulise kumafama onke na kuzo zonke istakeholders ezikhoyo kule ntlanganiso. Usisnolitha uyibethe kule ndawo bendifuna uya kuyo. Kukungathembani endingakwaziyo uba kudalwa yintoni okubangela into yoba singaphumeleli xa sizama uqokelela imali yothenga ifeed. Ithenge kaninzi ifeed, siyithenga
Mr. Bomela engathi uqhawukile, ndiyayirhokrela ke i-network iyathanda umhlupha pha. In the interest of time, sizawucela olandelayo izaba ngu-Agric Kasi followed by Mr. Mbane. Sicela uthoba isandla sakho Sisnolitha xa ugqibile. Agric Kasi, over to you.
Hello.
Yeah, siyakuva. Go ahead, Mhlekazi.
Thanks kakhulu Mr. Mehlo thethayo. In a scale of 4,000 broilers. Now, I want to check of access to market, because I'm not sure noba ikhona indlela whereby kungaba khona some memorandum of understanding between us and also anchor, maybe to get the access to the market ikakhulu. Befuna just the issue access to market, but dingenza njani? Enkosi.
Enkosi Mhlekazi, Mr. Mbane. So sorry, Mr. Mbane.
Thank you very much.
Let's allow Mr. Bomela to make his point before you come in. Sorry about that. Mr. Bomela, finish your point, and then Mr. Mbane will come in. No, Mr. Bomela's network is letting him down. All right, over to you, Mr. Mbane. Mr. Mbane awuvakali.
Oh, thank you very much, facilitator. Kulo mcimbi lo we-feed amafama sithetha ngawo namhlanje. Yavuya ekhona uMr. Mlamli esithi yena sele nayo already i-contract that exists with i-Paul abenokwazi ukuthi asithengele i-feed okanye asincedise singamafama. Siwenzile lo maphulo as an association. We are even willing to share experiences in terms of working with amafama. Naye ukwenzela azoba aware and strategize around those issues as the challenges. Izolo besine meeting with abantu that were coming, or investors that were coming from Turkey. They were coming from Turkey. We're discussing the possibilities of investment up in Eastern Cape. But another aspect, and is that we've got the crop farmers up in Provincial that are producing maize. We have red hubs. We approached to SRDA. That was last year. They even commissioned a study. Today, but I know they are not ready to share that kind of information. But our approach was that with red hubs that we have within the province, how about we have indoor feed mills, and those feed mills will be owned by farmer glow area leyo, a manufacturer ukutya, so that ukutya oko kube nokwazi ukuthi kuzothengiswa kuthengiselwe thina singalamafama. Yenye into esasiyicingile leyo, because the challenge that we have is that abantu xana ngelinye ixesha sirelaya kwabangabanye abantu umzekelo iPaul nobanibani, which is fine, we don't have a problem with that, but ingaske sibe nokwazi ukuthi thina siyilungise ngehlobo elithi we need to also partner with SRDA so that kwezi red hubs sibe nokwazi ukuthi kubenefit mills ku-manufacturer. Ndiyavuya kuMr. Mlamli naye sizawubonisa into yoba sakwenza kanjani na sibe nokwazi ukuthi silungise lo mcimbi leyo sizohambela phambili. Siyazi ubana we have a company that is owned by abantu bakuthi abamanufacturer lo mcimbi wokutya, because sinamasisema amaninzi, and ubuya notice i-Department of Agriculture is investing a lot of money when it comes to into land maize production up eprovinceni, and uzawufumanisa into yobana ngeyona key project yabo leyo abo ba-investayo. But now when they invest noko mayibe khona into nathi esizamayo ubona into yobana kweli cala lethu singenza njani na into yobana sibe nokwazi ukuthi oku kutya nalo mbona usetyenziswayo uproducwayo apha eprovinceni ungathi uphume uyotsho kwezinye provinces. Siyazi uba sizawusebenzisa kweli cala. Zezo zinto nje bendifuna uziveza sihlanu.
Enkosi Mr. Mbane. And I think the theme that we are picking up here is that need for collaboration to optimize economies of scale. So there are two more hands. P. Mfenyane. Go ahead, P. Mfenyane. You will be followed by Unonyaniso Chobongo.
Enkosi mhlala ngaphambili. Ngumfenyana lo singamafama afama kwindawo yaseNgqushwa kunye naseBhayi. Sisebenza ngebroiler kunye ne-vegetables. Ndifuna nje mani ukugxininisa kulo mcimbi ubukho wathethwa yaba ngathi sithethe into enye, but kulo wokhe kujongwe ezi value chains, especially ezi ze-feed kunye ne-day-old chicks. Ngoba nangona singafuna ukuba ngathi sithi asincedwa zi-suppliers ezikhoyo, but I think urhulumente makakayicinge into yovuselela ezi value chains. Umzekelo kule nto ye-feed, ukuzama ukukhawulelana nale challenge sinayo singamafama, i-value addition iyafuneka phaa ku-integrate laa mbona usuka kulaa mafama ombona ukwazi ukungena apha kwezi nkukhu sizenzayo. I think loo nto ukuba ingayinto urhulumente anoyijonga inosincedisa kakhulu. Kumsebenzi ke ndandisebenza kuwo phambi bengumfama ndandikwa-research, and ndiyakhumbula into yobana iindawo ezifana no-CSIR zikhona i-feasibility study ezazenziwe. Umzekelo kwezaa ndawo zakoQamata ukuzama ukuvuselela ezi irrigation scheme ukwenzela ukuba zikwazi ukusapota amafama ethu aexistayo. Isingathi kum bekunoba kuhle mhlawumbi ngaphambili ukuba urhulumente ebenokhe azenze ii-key priority projects ezi zokuqiniseka ukuba kudevelopwa ezi value chains zizawukwazi ukusisapota. Siyasokola kakhulu apha eBhayi ngakumbi kule nto yeenkukhu. Kuyakwazi ukuthi odila iinkukhu kusithiwa ziyeza, kuphinde kudisayidwe uba ukhona umntu obalulekileyo kunawe ozawunikwa ezi nkukhu, uphele ke ngoku wena usimela ecaleni. So ndiyayicela loo nto le nto yobana angasincedisa kakhulu urhulumente uba unokhe ayijonge i-value chain analysis yakhe, aqiniseke ukuba zonke ezi barriers to entry ziyasuswa. Enkosi kakhulu.
Enkosi Mr. Mfenyana. Wachaphazela umcimbi obuhlungu. Uthi ubuyilindele uyazi uba ikhona suke ingafiki kuwe ithu. Lento it's about closing ranks bantu bakuthi. Masinikezele kumama Unonyaniso Cholonga.
Good morning everyone. Thank you ngokundinika i-opportunity. Ndingunonyaniso Chobonga, ndisebhizana, ndilima on a small scale, ndiphinde ndifuye on a small scale. Ndifuna nam ke mhlambi ukungena kule ndawo yo-closing ranks ukuthi urhulumente siyacela asincedise kakhulu. Indlela esizibona sisancediswa ngayo ngoku nguSIFA, and uSIFA ke ufuna imali yakhe ibuye, kanti asikakwazi, asikho kwiposition yoba singakwazi ukubuyisa imali because especially after i-COVID imali akwenzeki. So siyacela ke urhulumente into yoba makasincedise kwiinto ze-trainings like this Apple thing ekuthethwa ngayo. Asincedise urhulumente ekusube sifundiswe ukuzenzela okwethu ukutya. Usipartnerishe no-Apple ngenjongo yokusifundisa into yoba u-Apple ekugqibeleni nathi sibe ngabantu abakwazi ukuzimela. Nalapha ekulimeni siyazi into yokokuba nokuba asenzanga fit kuphela, but siyakwazi uba nee-nursery zethu so that this value chain ke nyhani iphelele. Even with le nto ye-broilers, ukuze nathi siphume kule nto yokunganikwa i-preference, kunikwa abantu abathile, because ke nyhani when you are a big company awuzuthi mna ndi-ode amantshontsho ayi-100 ukhona umntu ode amantshontsho ayi-1000 unika i-preference mna. Kodwa ukuba ngaba ke nyhani siklasterishwa ngaloo ndlela yoba sikwazi uba sifundiswe, sisuke kube khona umntu ohecharishayo, kube khona oqhubelekayo, iphelele i-value chain within i-capacity yethu, so that we don't compete with abantu asebebakhulu in the business, ngoba sihleli thina singazunikwa preference, and in that way we won't grow. Thank you.
Enkosi mama. Mafama, one of the things that we need to be mindful of Umsebenzi kahulumende in the main is to create an environment, and yes, they support. Umsebenzi kahulumende is to create an environment. The sooner entrepreneurs emerge among us to close these gaps that are highlighted in these discussions, the better for all of us. Because if we keep depending on uhulumende to do things for us, we will keep complaining. Secondly, the sooner we recognize as farmers that we are running our own businesses in these farms, however big or small they are, the better for us. Because when we begin to do that, we will run these as businesses. Now, I am not negating anything that has been said here in terms of the role of government and how government can assist us. But the point that I am making is we need to strive to be self-sufficient in everything that we do. At this point, I think this will be the last speaker in this session. Mr. Bomela, are you still available? I see you trying to get in and then you disappear. Please make your point.
Manbulele bengazi-introduce nozi-introduce ngokuxolisa lona ngawabhomela. Umhlobo ngumhlobo, mandiyibeke nje ngolo hlobo. Le latuka kuthethwa ngayo le hatchery, ungajula ilitye xa ulapha ekhaya ufike kuyo isengqamakwe kuntseshe kwilali yakwaGubevu. Le hatchery kuthethwa ngayo si-state of the art really, but ke siyalantuka sizawuwa sidilike njengoba esitsho nolantuka negoseli likarhulumente belithetha indlu engahlali mntu kuyawa. Ndibuye ndize kule ndima ke yokulantuka yokwenza ifeed. Ndiyayithanda xa amafama eyibona into yoba makungenelele amafama alimileyo kwenziwe ifeed. Make sizameni uzenzela, kodwa ke in the meantime siyilandelele lantuka kaMlamli yoba esithi yena uyakwazi uthenga. Sizisikele ixesha, uba into ayinaxesha ivulwe nje sawuhlala sithenga kwaba Apple kude sidlule thina emhlabeni kulandela abantwana bethu nabo bethenga kwaba Apple. Kanti uba sizisikele ixesha into yoba sizawuthatha ixesha elikanga sithenga kwa Apple, emva kwelo xesha
Hayi ke mhlali ngaphambili ingathi le network iphinde yamsusa uMr Bomela. Mandibulele kwakhona.
Hayibe yathi sisithi nguthetha ngathi.
All right. Usekhona. Hayi man kuyala manibulele bantu bakuthi ngentsebenziswano malibe linye into zakuthi these are our businesses. We need to take charge of them, but most importantly we need to recognize that amandla alapha kuthi mhlawumbi learn to trust one another. Sisuse lento ukuba iyawuthi ukuze ibe into ebonakalayo ibe inomuntu omhlophe okanye umuntu wasemzini. Make sizifundise ukuthembana nokuxhasana kwizinto esizenzayo. Mandibuyisele intambo kuwe ke mhlali ngaphambili, ndiyabulela ngelithuba.
Enkosi inkokheli yam, sawumane sithi device.
Uyavakala ngoku Mr Mbona ungangena.
Enkosi kakhulu inkokheli yam. Hey, sine problem ye network apha ezilalini. Iyasibetha kakhulu. Kule lento i-commission elandelayo befama bakhona abantu bakwamasipala
Ndiyabona ke abakwazanga into yobana baphumelele namhlanje kule ye-funding. Nabo ndizama uba connecta into yobana bafumaneke tu kwaphela. Bendizawucela ke Dwarha ibe nguwe noqhubekekayo kulena, then siyazi uba sesikhona ispeaker ke for le sort of facilitator for lena ye-abatos. Sawucela wena uqhubekekeke kulena ye-funding uyifacilitator nokwayo ukwenzela sokwazi uba singene kwenye. Enkosi kakhulu.
Enkosi mhlanga phambili. Sizawuqhuba kwangalangala. Mhlawumbi ke xa nifacilitator le mali sawusesijikilisa neplate ukwenzela uba sikwazi ukuqokelela ubupenana nizothenga i-airtime. Bantu bakuthi umcimbi wemali ngumcimbi onzima futhi sonke singonobhizinesi. Ndithetha ke apha ngethemba loba wonke umuntu lapha ngunobhizinesi, uba ungumfama ungunobhizinesi. Ngoku sizawuthetha ngemicimbi nentokwenza ne-funding. What challenges are we experiencing? What opportunities can we leverage kulo mcimbi wemali? Umama uNonyaniso ke isandla sakhe oko besiphakamile ngokuya ndicela usithobe mama ukwenzela uba singabhideki sazi ukuthi sime ndawoni. Ndifuna ke xa siwuqwalasela lo mcimbi sizame nokucebisana ukuthi kwaba bakwazileyo ukuyi-accessa i-funding imfihlelo yabo ibisithini, kuba lento ilapho le ukuthi how can we help each other to get to a point where we are self-sustainable. Mafam ayityebe iteketeke. Sanukuphisa. Over to you, Sis Nolita.
Thanks, Chair. Yani umcimbi we-funding unzima. Ndifuna ungena kule part uthi umuntu acebise uba yena wenze njani. Most yethu apha maybe ii-companies zi-registered, maybe i-bank account sazivula, but ufanele uba inyani is that awuyisebenzisi when you're trading, utrade as Nolita Nyikana. You're not trading as the funky farmer. So akho evidence iqokelelekayo, financial records ezibonisa uba I'm trading. Abanye bethu zange baregistarisha kwa uregistarisha companies. They've just been trading all hlobo benza ngalo. When I faced the law challenge mna, I sat down that nazi le ncwadi yami emnyama inkulu, la ncwadi yabantwana besikolo A3 whatever A4, endibhala kuyo monthly. But mandiqale ehokweni, ungena kwamantshontsho ehokweni ndine-clipboard ndibhale phaa, afike kanga ndibe nee-columns ndigaleni iyeza kufe ngaphi, yonke laa information every time ndifake i-batch. Laa batch izawuhambelana nalaa ncwadi yam imnyama ndibhale kuyo ke ngoku uba kulaa batch unoSandiso wafika wakwelita zayi-5, wafika uHawker wase-Alice wathenga 20 cash, yonke laa nto. Ndathi ke ngoku xa ndiqomba heyi izandibetha le nto because ngoku ndifuna i-funding and kufuna iinto ezibhalwe zacaca pha. Ndathi andizuyiqweba ndawo mos le mali khange ingene ebhankini kakuhle ibonisa uba ingena kakuhle iyaflowa. Ndathatha i-invoice book, ndinazo ke i-invoice book for u-invoicer some other customers zam. Remember we have different customer segments. Ndathatha laa invoice book yam, I spent sleepless nights mafama, iveki yonke ndithatha laa ncwadi yam imnyama ndijonge into yoba kwezaa nkukhu zaziyi-200 bendizifake nge-15 kaNovemba 2019 kwafa 20 ndathengisa 180. Laa 180 laa black book yam ithi ndiyithengise njani. Ndithi Hawkers zase-Alice 20 ndenze i-invoice. Ndithi ihokha yasemdantsane 30 ndenze i-invoice. Onosindiso ke nonomaxabiso nonobani balapha elalini bam ndithi local customers mhlawumbi 60 ndizibhale i-invoice. I did that for into ye-12 months because I needed to show proof yoba I'm trading at 200,000. Yayisitsho mos la funding la COVID relief. And ke mafama, it worked for me because ngelakhi sekucacile uba abo bantu bahlala phantsi bazihlele ezi applications zethu ba-dedicated because seemingly someone did take time to ukuzibona. Mna ke I believe in putting izinto kakuhle xa ufaka i-application, put i-dividers ezi sizithela abantwana bethu so that ubonise uba apha yi-information, i-business plan, apha zii-financials zakho. So I did loo nto leyo kakuhle, even though it was handwritten most yayo kwi-financials, but I could show uba zingenile hokweni, nazi zithengisiwe kwi-black book, nazi ii-invoice zam endizame uziprepara. And it did work, I did get the funding. But ke ngoku yandifundisa into yoba mandiyisebenzise i-business account yam so that ndi-eliminate zonke ezi problems. Mna into endiyibonayo esibethayo kule nto ye-funding ephela iwa-discourage amafama noku-even attempta uyifilisha iform is because uzawuthi hayi yasokolisa laa nto bathi mandibonise uba ndithengise nge-200,000. Fama uyathengisa nge-200,000, ungathengisa iinkukhu eziyi-1,000 ngonyaka okanye eziyi-2,000 ufaka 100 ngeveki ngenyanga. Uyayenza laa mali, zithembe uyayenza, qha awuyidotyumentanga. If awuyidotyumentanga, spend time yakho le nto ifunwa nguwe, spend time uzama uyikhuphela and then uzixelele into yoba ndiza kuyenza ke ngoku le nto yofaka imali. Of course nangoku abantu babhatala i-cash, ababhatali nge-FET, babhatala cash. Ithi ifika laa mali uthengele umfama ndafumana i-2.4, laa mali kwangoko sendifuna uyothenga i-feed, but at least ndithatha i-2 hours ndiyithathe ndiyoyidiphozitha, okokuba idiphozitheke eakhawuntini then ndihambe ndoyiswipa ke ngokwalushiya ndithenge i-feed. Yabona ke ngoku I'm trying to build istory sam, umntu azawusibona noba ndingathi thaca ile nto ke ngoku ezinto siziprintayo zasebhankini, i-statement. But 2.4 was deposited. Eyoba in the next minute yaphinda yasebenza, at least iyabonakala iswayitywanga tops, iswayityiwe phi kwalushiya eco-op ye-feed. Thanks nkokheli, bendifuna nje ufaka loo input.
Enkosi kakhulu sisinolita, that was valuable input. Ndiyayithanda ukuthi ibonisa ukuthi le nto i-accessible nakuye nabani na ukugcina as records. Masidlulele kusisi uSolwandle emva koko kungene umfenyana.
Molweni mafama nazo zonke i-stakeholders ezikhoyo. Hayi ndifuna nje ubulela ngale nto intle nisiphathele yona. Ndifuna ungena kule ba ugqibothethwa ngumamnoliti. Umamnoliti uthetha into ebalulekileyo because nantsi into ebendijikajikana nayo mna. Bendifake i-application kulo mba we-Jobs Fund, yonke into yam ihamba right. Ndamane ndijikiswa ke phaa eMonti because ingxaki ebendinayo, ingxaki yobana fine imali ndiyayenza iyabonakala but i-business account yam is still new, so bafuna ngoku i-records zakudala endingenazo. So uncedile ngalena ethethileyo, besendiqoma ndigivaphile mna, andiyaba mandithini because kaloku kuthiwa ngoku bafuna ubona uba le mali bendiyifaka phi na, and ezinye ke imali bendingazifaki because kaloku ezinye besane kufike i-cash uhambe uyothenga ngayo, ungayenzi laa nto yofaka imali e-accountini, and ke ne-business account was still new. So undinike itip because ke ndinazo zona ii-invoices ezindisa kuzo kwezi butcheries, but ke ngoku khange ndicingele uba mandithathe zona ndizise phaa. So mna besendibugive apha ke ngoku ndiqonda uba andiyiboni ke ngoku isebenza le nto. So ndizakhe ndilitraye ke licebo lakhe athetha ngalo khe ndibafowunele ndibabuze. Enkosi.
Enkosi kakhulu sisi. Masiye kolandelayo uphi Mfenyana.
Enkosi kwakhona mhlawumbi ngaphambili. Bendithi mani mandikhe ndihlomle andiyani noba mhlawumbi khona into yawuncedakala na ile observation yam. Thina singamafama enkukhu. We have been farming Indaba for the last 2 years. But enye yezinto esizenzayo sikwayi-training center for into ze-business kunye ne-agriculture. And one of the things that we have observed mhlawumbi ngaphambili, and I think ispeaker sokuqala besiyithatshile le nto, umba wokuqala I think yile issue yokuba abantu abaninji baqala ukufama iyinto nje yokufuya, but ke ngoku xa kufuneka benze la transition from ukufuya nje to running an agribusiness, bafumanise into yoba fundamentally kukho ii-issues ezifana nongabikho kwe-skills as well as ii-systems within the business. Eyesibini into that we have found kuzo zonke thina ii-applications esithe sazifumana okanye uncedo esithe salifumana siba nolombuzo wokuba ezinye zezinto zisokolisa nathi ngoku sinayo nokho i-background ye-business, kubekela phi ke kumafama ethu amanye angakhange alifumane elo thuba lokuba aye esikolweni for ezinye izinto zee-applications. Siyavuma ukuba kule minyaka kube khona ukusimplifywa kwezinye zee-applications, kodwa ubunzima busekhona, especially ukuba sizawusapota amafama ethu on a broad base. So ndinale suggestion nje ebendifuna ukuyenza engazi noba mhlawumbi into abendiphume ecaleni yokuba khe kuconsiderishwe into yokuba kubekho an incubation program. Ndiyayazi ke kumafama u-incubate uthethe enye into, but phaa kwa-business zikhona into ekuthiwa zii-incubators, which is business incubators. Mhlawumbi ke sibe nayo specifically focusing on i-poultry okanye i-sector le yonke as a whole, so that we can have an entity that would be sensitive to i-challenges amafama azifayisayo angakhange abe kanti analo okanye anaso isakhono sokurana what is called an agribusiness. Mhlawumbi loo nto leyo inganoncedo, andiyazi, kodwa bendisithi nje mandike ndihlomle loo ndawo. Enkosi mhlawumbi ngaphambili.
Enkosi kakhulu Nkosi yami, le suggestion yakho inhle kakhulu of having an incubator of some kind specifically for amafama asakhulayo. Kulo mcimbi wemali ibuyela kulaa nto bendiyithetha kuqala yokuba uba ungumfama ongazaziyo ukuba ungunobusiness uzawuqinga. Kuthetha ukuthini ukuba ungunobusiness? Kuthetha ukuba okokuqala uyaplana, uyayazi inkcitho yakho. Funeka kube khona umahluko phakathi kwemali yakho neye-business. Into ethetha ukuthi loo nto xa udinga imali yokuyothenga iswekile awuthathi nje phaa kwi-business, uthatha kweyakho. Uba uthathe kwi-business uyayirekhoda loo nto njengemali oyibolekiweyo. Kubalulekile njengonobusiness oziranelayo ukuthi wazi ukuthi le business yakho ikubhatala malini ngenyanga okanye ngeli xesha elikholisekileyo kuwe. Iyancedisa ke loo nto ukwenzela uba sikwazi ukwahlula phakathi kwe-income le mali ingeniswa yi-business, ii-expenses eze-business. Sazi ukuba i-business yethu iyayenza na i-profit okanye ayiyenzi, kuba xa sisiya kule mizi yonkqonkqozela imali kufuneka sidemonstreyithile ukuba i-business lena inayo i-potential yokwenza i-profit, but nangaphezu koko wena mntu uaplayishayo une-discipline yokuaplayishela imali. Ndizawunika ezandla zibini ngokulandelelana kwazo. Sizawuqala ngondoda size ngoxolani. Nithi gqaba nje selisikile eli xesha.
Nje ndingumandla uXanyana, silapha eMonti. Kule ndaba ye-funding ndifuna ukubuza nje kancinci because we're dealing with the SMMEs. Ikhona indawo ecoverisha i-subsistence because i-program yethu sina 149 village ku-Buffalo City. Now i-program yethu is to develop i-subsistence yabantu abafuya inkukhu ezilalini kwindlu yakhe umuntu, and then collectively ilali create a co-op yezo nkukhu. Now i-question yami ukuthi ingaba ikhona indlela usida okanye usifa anosincedisa ngayo around the question of subsistence. Ndivakele
Sikuvile Mhlekazi, enkosi. Emva kwesisithethi uba ukhona umuntu ozawuresponda kusifa usida uya kusinceda ngolo hlobo. Over to you Xolani.
All protocol observed Mhlekazi, ne panel yonke namafama jikelele. Isicelo sami mna ndinguXolani Boy apha eNgcobo enkondlo. Ndifuna unyathela kwinhlungu esijongene nayo singamafama kwezi ndawo zisemaphandleni. Ikuyachachazela ke sesinye isithethi esithi amagosa ethu azibhosi. For instance, ndikwigroup yehagu mna. I-challenge esinayo into kokuba uzawuzenzela ihoko uthenge lamantshontsho uzikhulisela yonke lento kakuhle uthenga neefidi zakho. Every time usiya egoseni lixakeke phaa eofisini. Ungathi usithi just on thumb sucking zingaphi ihagu eziseNgcobo. Never mind Chrisani. Ufumanisa into yoba azaziwa because amagosa ethu they are office based. At least baye benayo ke mhlambi no virtual bebenabo for ukroba ezindawo zethu ngekubhetele. They are just too busy pies officing. Now, how do you then get to understand into kokuba ngenye imini kwawuze kubekho i-reconciliation yoba this is what we have in this particular area and these are the needs and nansi indlela. U-collective lokuthethwa ngaye ndiyamva ungangasiphucula kakhulu but i-stats ne-combination kunzima ndisuke enkondlo eward 17 ndiyokhangela zonke ezi ward uba zinantoni ezizosikwazi uphathisana as a collective. But so we're working in silos ngenxa yento yoba namagosa ethu akanazo izitets la sifana uba sidibana kuwo thina ayi-central point. Now ininzi into efuna overhaulwa malunga nento yamagosa ethu ezolimo, particularly when it comes to visiting i-projects zethu. It's very difficult. Esinye ke isikhalo endinaso ebendisinqwenela yinto kokuba lo mcimbi ka-virtual mhle ngoba njengangoku siyakwazi uparticipate sonke. Qha ndifilish uba ingathi iintlanganiso ezinjengalena zi-advertiswa too late. As a result kunzima ngoba ngoku mhlawumbi ngendenze i-big screen apha ekhaya ndi-organize amafama kufitshane ngoba abanye abantu despite the passion and capacity they have, but i-reality yoba ezi facilities njengezi abanazo. Now ezinto uba bezino-advertiswa ngexesha as loud as possible so that sikwazi into yoba nathi bantu banala mathuba ezi facilities siqokelele nabanye abantu beze ngeyityebile ngegalelo labantu abaneengxaki as on the ground practical besenza ezi zinto benemicela-mngeni enyanisekileyo, not izinto zokucingela. No, ndiyanqwena ke into kokuba ezi nto ngase ziqwalaselwe kodwa amagosa wethu wona rhulumente noko khawuwancedise anyuse igaws akazazi izinto ezenzeka on the ground. NdinguXolani Boy apha eNgcobo, le nto ndiyithethayo ndiyibi. Enkosi kakhulu.
Enkosi kakhulu Xolani, that is a passionate plea yokuthi amagosa abe ngathi enyusa igaws apha ekuncediseni ekuhlaleni. Kuvakele ndiyacela ke xa ungumuntu wase-SIDA or sifa uphakamisa isandla okwangoku sizawunikela uThandile, andazi noba ungomnye wabona naye kodwa ke we'll hand over to you Thandile.
Hello, enkosi kakhulu ngokunika. Mna ndiyi-youth andazi noba ndizawuba ndingena kwiplatform erayithi ndenza i-poultry farming apha eyadini, ndenza ii-broilers. Now ndifumana i-opportunity apho umlungu one-cancer esithi bana ngandithengisela ifama yakhe necapacity yosuplya 4,000 broilers. Ingaba uSifa okanye uSida angandincedisa njani na mna? Inkosi.
All right, enkosi Thandile, lithuba elihle kakhulu eli uthetha ngalo. Masithembe ukuthi ukhona umuntu ozawukwazi ukukunceda. Mr Mbane, uzawukwazi ukusincedisa kule micimbi iphanyisiweyo kuba anibaboni bephakamisa aboSifa noSida.
Enkosi kakhulu facilitator. Kulo mcimbi we-funding awogqityovezwa ngoku malunga noSifa, iba abantu bayakhumbula besikhe sanayo iwebinar besinayo ngoJulayi apho yayithetha nge-funding opportunities. Ndiyavuya kusisi lo uvelayo uthi unefama apho kwazileyo into yobana lo mntu amaproshe sizamdibanisa ke no-Land Affairs, because uLand Affairs uyakwazi unceda malunga nento yofunda amafama ngegrant engeyiyo iloan. Will also link up aba bantu abo with uSifa, because ngoku abekho namhlanje kuba sasiba-invite kuloo workshop leyo. Usisi ke mtsha utsho uthi usilulutsha. I don't think u-NYDA anganayo i-appetite yomncedisa, but zikhona ezinye izinto anokwazi into yobana benokwazi ukuthi amncedise ngazo. Phaa kwichat le nto chat room zawucela umntu andithumelelele okanye ashiye just iinumber zakhe, nam zashiya iinumber zam ukwenzela sibe nokwazi ukuthi sithethe emveni kwale meeting, then sinikeze umkhombandlela into yobana uzawukwazi bancedakale njani na. Ndingene kulo mcimbi lo wento yobana some yezi messages okanye ezi events sizenza i-notices very late. Siyazenza on time, qha into eyenzekayo iba yilinki. Mhlambi ke funeka ke ngosiyenze mhlambi a month in advance, kuba thina besicingela mhlambi into yobana xa sisazisa ngeveki siyazi uba kwiveki ezayo noko abantu bazawukwazi into yobana umcimbi bawubambe. But ke amafama xa esitsho esithi ebenokwazi ukuthi ancedisa ngamanye amafama, we will respond and respond accordingly kulo mcimbi lo, into yobana ii-events zethu neeposter sizenze noko ithuba liselide, that is inyanga phambi kokubana ibe nokwazi ukuthi iqalise. Ndiyaqonda mhlawumbi ngaphambili ngathi ndiyiphendule imibuzo ibiseyiveziwe apha. Enkosi kakhulu.
Masibulele Mr Mbane, sibulele nakwigalelo elinikiweyo apha. Enyanisweni siyithathele ingqalelo lento yokunika i-notice kwezi webinars. Ibonakala ngathi liqonga eli that would assist us nje ngamafama ingakumbi asezilalini. And it is appreciated ukuthi among us bakhona abantu aba-offerishayo to gather bigger groups of people. And loo nto is talking to le nto besikade sithetha ngayo apha of closing ranks. Kodwa it's also talking to inature yethu njengabantu kukuba kakade singabantu abasebenzisanayo, nemicelimngeni lesinayo singakwazi ukuhlangabezana nayo ngcono xa sibambisene sicebisana ngezidingo esinazo. Ixesha lam ke liphelile, kodwa ndiza kumvumela uHope abe ngumuntu wokugqibela ozawuhlomla kule segment. Ndiyizibuyisele intambo emva koko kumhlali ngaphambili. Hope, khawuhlomle.
Mandizibulisele nam, enkosi mhlali ngaphambili. Ndibulise ipanel yonke, ndibulise nawo onke amafama. Bengicela ubuza, I'm sorry that I joined a virtual meeting late, ne? But the question that I have, I'm not sure if it was covered at all, ne? Ndingumfama ndiseqoboqobo eKeiskamawuka. And ubhuti Mhlobo, I met him kwi-AgriSeta accredited training endandiyenza ye-poultry, ne? I-question enayo ngoku yobana ndive kuthethwa about i-hydroponics, ne? And then the understanding is that i-poultry is one of the first steps kule nto ye-hydroponics. Basically, i-waste ye-poultry yiyo ezawube ifida i-fish, and then i-waste ye-fish ibe yiyo ezawufida i-vegetables ozawube umntu ezilimile. Are we Are we going to be part of it, or have we even started to align ourselves to be ready for into enjalo? Apho siyazi ubana sizophela sibenefita khona. Like ingase ndibe aware ubana we are ready for zonke izinto ezenzekayo. Are we actively aligning ourselves, because ifanuba ininzi isaving ezaba khona in terms of feed. Xa ungazuzifeed eza fish, the normal expensive feed, then ifanuba ezibani circle izabe iqhubekeka, like iyazi bana eventually ikhona is some type of saving ezikwenzeka. Inkosi.
Ngosi, hope you introduced another interesting subject there, apho involve hydroponics as well. Kodwa ke ndifuna ukunikezela kuye ukwenzela uba if the opportunity presents itself, we will be able to respond to your comment there. And Intlanganiso, thanks again for entrusting me with this opportunity. We will hand over to you, Mr. Chair, Intlanganiso. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mbochelwa, for driving these three commissions that ezafikelela kule ndawo zikuyo. Siza kukhulula nje okomzuzwana. Sinaso ispeaker sethu, that is Dr. Govenda, who have joined us. He's going to share a presentation around umcimbi we-abattoirs within Eastern Cape and the challenges that we are faced with as a smallholder farmers. Doc, I'm sure you are in, you can hear me. Let me know if you are in the meeting. Are you in?
Hi,
Oh,
Chair.
yes.
Yes, I am. Sorry, my laptop is just a little bit slow.
Okay, Doc. No, that's fine. Thank you. You are welcome to join us. We'll hand it over to you so that you start with your presentation, with your short presentation. Over to you, Doc.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm just busy sharing the presentation now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Parishka Govender, and I work for Department of Rural Development and Agrarian Reform. Currently, I am employed as the Deputy Director of Veterinary Services in the Amatole district. This presentation was initially meant to be done by my director, Dr. Khozani, but unfortunately he is busy with interviews at the moment, so I will just be doing this on his behalf. I hope that everybody can see the presentation. So I will just be sharing a little bit about poultry abattoirs in my district, and we can maybe do some questions afterwards as well. Okay, so our abattoirs are governed by the Meat Safety Act in South Africa. This is the Act 40 of 2000, and this act regulates the meat industry in South Africa. But also the main function of this act is to promote meat safety and the safety of animal products. So we use this act in order to ensure that every product that reaches the public is hygienic, it's of a good quality, and it's not going to make anybody sick. Now, a very big part of this act is Section 7, and Section 7 states that no person may slaughter any animal at any place other than an abattoir. It also states that no person may sell or provide meat for human and animal consumption unless it has been slaughtered in an abattoir. So here we see that in order for meat to be sold anywhere in the country, needs to first be
Dr. Govender, excuse me, Dr. Govender, please hold on there. Ladies and gentlemen, please mute your microphones. It is rude to speak while there is a speaker on the podium. Thank you very much. Please mute your microphones and switch off your cameras as well. Over to you, Dr. Govender.
Thank you, Chair. So as I was saying, It is illegal in South Africa for us to be selling any sort of meat product to the public if it has not been slaughtered in an abattoir. And the reason for this is because we have certain things that we have implemented in the abattoir to ensure that the meat is hygienic and safe. There are many foodborne diseases, I'm sure everybody knows about this, that can even be deadly to people. So the abattoir and all the things that we implement in the abattoir is to ensure that we do not make anybody sick or cause any deaths unnecessarily. However, there is an exception to this in the Act, and this exception is that it does not apply to slaughter for either own consumption, cultural, or religious purposes. So if you are slaughtering your poultry to eat for yourself or for your family, then this act doesn't apply to you, or this part of the act doesn't apply to you. Also, if you are slaughtering animals for cultural or religious events, then this also does not apply. However, we do recommend that you still call one of our veterinary public health officers out if you are slaughtering animals for cultural or religious events, in order for them to just do a meat inspection while they are out in the field to make sure that the food is still safe for the people who are going to be eating it. In Amatole, these are the poultry abattoirs that we have available. So we have Anchor Foods Abattoir, which is in Stutterheim. This is a massive high throughput abattoir that slaughters up to 35,000 birds per day. And then we have Jubilee and Richmond, which are quite close together in Buffalo City. We also have Tandala Poultry in King Williamstown. We have Izukukwini in Mbashe. And then these two abattoirs, we have Tyndall, which is in the Amahlati region. However, they do not slaughter consistently. It's sometimes they slaughter 2 to 3 times a week. Some weeks they won't slaughter at all. So it will just depend on the demand and how much availability of poultry there is. Then we have Grassdale. Grassdale is currently not an active abattoir, but they do still register with us every year. Then just in terms of, the chair did ask me to just touch on the procedure when it comes to establishing a new abattoir. So the main steps that need to be followed is that the veterinary public health officer needs to be contacted. If anybody is interested in this, I can give the contact details of all our veterinary public health officers, as well as the areas that they cover, to the chairperson, and he can maybe distribute it to everybody if anybody is interested in this. Then an application for an establishment of a new abattoir needs to be sent to our provincial executive officer, who is Dr. Khozani. Once this application is sent, there are certain things that he's going to require. For example, we collaborate with 3 different sections. So water affairs, environmental affairs, and the municipality. So before an abattoir can be erected or it can be functional, we need letters from all 3 of these departments to state that they do not have any objection with the abattoir being established in that area. And the reason for this is because there will be waste that is going to be released from the abattoir, and therefore that will affect environmental affairs, the water that we're going to be using as well. And because it's going to be situated in a municipality, the municipality also needs to agree that they do not have any problem with the abattoir being in this area. Typically, what they look for is they do not want abattoirs anywhere close to residential areas because of the waste disposal and also because of the smell that the public often complain about. So we just want it in a remote area that's not going to disturb anyone and that's going to be away from the residential areas. Then the PEO will also require a site plan of the abattoir. We have regulations in place and protocols in place that the VPHO can give to you, and you can use this in order to see what your site looks like, what is going to be needed to be added onto the site, what extra things will be need to be added. And they will also explain to you our red meat regulations and our poultry regulations and how that will apply to you establishing your abattoir. Thank you. That was my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Doc. And the farmers are already sending messages via our chat room, making inquiries on how they can actually apply. But we'll actually explain to them all those kind of processes that they need to actually follow. Thank you very much, Doc, for this nice presentation. You've actually touched on the issues that we discussed yesterday that are very important for today's session. We highly appreciate that one. I will hand over again to facilitator. We've got a facilitator who is Mr. Ayano Mbotelwa. Mr. Mbochelo, you will take over, my leader, so that we finalize this last commission. And on my side, we have a scriber that is actually taking notes. And from here, when we are done with this commission, then I will make my final inputs. And then from there, definitely that will be a closure before 2 o'clock as we have scheduled, which is we are a bit earlier on, we are on time. Thank you very much, Doc. We really appreciate that. Over to you, Mr. Anambocho. Just this final commission. I know it must be a party to come and facilitate, but you've offered yourself. Thank you very much, Kokeli. I'm over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mbane. And thank you, Dr. Govender, and fantastic presentation. And surely those farmers that have questions will have an opportunity to ask about